Well, you heard the command. The engines along pit road now begin to roar to life. And Jerry Punch, 500 miles here in this weather. It's very unusual for this kind of year. We've touched on it just a moment ago. Not usually in October is it this hot. That will be one of the factors today. Also, tires, they are saying, will be a factor too, as you will see on almost every caution, every opportunity, putting new tires on the cars today.
I think that a lot of the crews are prepared to use as many as 12 sets of tires today. Nothing wrong with the Goodyear tires. They are fine. Goodyear's done a lot of work with the tires. It's the fact that they're going to be running so high on the racetrack that it may wear out some tires early in the race.
Well, let's take a look now at the starting grid for the Oakwood Homes 500. Tim Richmond will be on the pole as they start to roll out. Richmond, of course, with that great qualifying 4-lap average of 167.078, the hot lap over 169 miles an hour. That was a record. Jeff Bodine's on the outside of the Levi Garrett Exxon Chevrolet at 166.059 miles an hour. Row 2, it's Dale Earnhardt in car 3, Harry Gant in car 33. Harry, of course, drives the School Bandit. On row 3, Darrell Waltrip in car 11 of the Budweiser Chevrolet. Bill Elliott in the Coors Melling Ford Thunderbird in car number 9. On row 4, rookie challenger Alan Kulwicki in the Quincy's Family Steakhouse car. Car number 12, Neil Bonnett in the Budweiser Chevrolet, also on row 4. On row 5, it's Rick Wilson in car 4. He'll be carrying our in-car camera today in the Kodak Film Oldsmobile. Car number 55 is Benny Parsons, the Fast Care Copenhagen Oldsmobile. And on row 6, it's Cale Yarborough in the Hardee's Ford and Buddy Baker in the Crisco Oldsmobile. As we move now through the field, on row 7, Morgan Shepherd, car 75, Terry Labonte in car 44. Rusty Wallace drives car 27 today. Ricky Rudd in car 15 on row 8. On row 9, it's A.J. Foyt, the veteran, in car number 14. Sterling Marlin in car number 1. Michael Waltrip, another rookie challenger, in car number 23, is on row 10, along with Rodney Combs. And it's Ken Reagan and Larry Pearson, Phil Parsons in 66, Chet Phillip in 81, Ron Bouchard and Kenny Schrader, Bobby Hillen in car 8, and Dave Marcus in 71. Then it's Bobby Allison and David Soseby, Richard Petty in 43, and Buddy Arrington, Connie Saylor, Del McCowart, Eddie Bierschwell, Joe Rudman, Tommy Ellis, Brad Teague, Jimmy Means, Randy Baker. We heard from Kyle Petty a moment ago, and J.D. McDuffie in car number 70. The starting lineup for the Oakwood Homes 500. Mike Hogwood, Jerry Punch back at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We are set to go green here and start the Oakwood Homes 500. Looking forward, Jerry, to a great race today. As out of turn 4, the pace car gets ready to take that hard left down onto pit road. Here it comes, and there's our in-car camera. Rick Wilson behind the wheel. That's the Kodak car number 4. The crowd on their feet. Over 120,000 people here today, and it's Richmond and Bodine bringing them to the front line. And it is Tim Richmond, the pole sitter, who jumps out to an early lead. Jeff Bodine tucks right in behind him as they head into turn 1. It's going to be a long day, Jerry. I think early in the race they'll just feel each other out just a little bit here.
Well, you have to think that possibly, but Richmond looks like he's not feeling anything but that throttle up front as he's trying to pull away a little bit. His teammate, at least as far as Rick Hendrick, the car owner, Bodine, running in second place. And now we wonder what the strategy that Earnhardt had when he talked to Steve Martin down a little earlier. It must be to go to the front and stay there, because Earnhardt's trying to make a move.
1, 2, 3, and 4 they are. It is Richmond, Bodine, Earnhardt, and Kerry Gant. Then another 4 or 5 car lengths back to Bill Elliott. Then Tim Richmond is setting the early pace here in the Oakwood Homes 500. It is Jeff Bodine running exceedingly high on the racetrack coming out of number 2, and now he ducks down low, trying to shoot up even with Richmond. He gets beside him, and now Jeff Bodine gets ahead of his teammate Tim Richmond, and it's Jeff Bodine now your leader as they come through 3 and head down through 4 into the front straightaway. Jeff Bodine with a nice move out of turn 2, got real high, then ducked down low, and was able to overtake Tim Richmond on the back straightaway.
Well, Bodine's car appears to be set up where the car does go up across the racetrack. You see the car down in turns 1 and 2. He's up higher on the track. Richmond's in the middle groove, and Earnhardt now making a move. He's on the bottom of the racetrack. His car dialed in to run on the bottom of the track. It's awfully stable as Earnhardt now makes a move on the inside of Richmond.
As they head now into turn 3, we are very early in this race, working lap number 3. It is Dale Earnhardt and Tim Richmond battling for second place. Earnhardt gets his nose out in front. They come through turn 4. They are still side by side, Richmond and Earnhardt, and it's Tim Richmond still owning second place. On lap number 3, Harry Gant content for the moment to sit back in 4th place.
Harry Gant's car drifts up awfully high in turns 1 and 2, and there's where Earnhardt has the advantage. His car handling so well down on the bottom of the track that he has a shot out of turn 2, but Richmond very, very strong on the backstretch.
We are seeing some good battles early. It has allowed Jeff Bodine to pull out now to a 5 or 6 car length lead. This battle between Earnhardt and Richmond for second place. And now Bill Elliott wants to take 4th place away from Harry Gant, but coming out of turn 4, as you see on your screen, he just ducked right in behind him. Bill Elliott content to run 5th at the moment. Gant is 4th. It is now Richmond 2nd and Earnhardt, or rather Earnhardt 2nd and Richmond 3rd. Jeff Bodine is your leader. We have completed 4 laps here in Charlotte.
Well, this was an opportunity for Bodine to maybe get away a little bit. While those cars were dicing back for second spot, Earnhardt, Richmond, and Gant, Bodine pulled away to about an 8 or 10 car length advantage. But now it appears that possibly we'll see what Earnhardt has if he can run him down. There's Bill Elliott, car number 9, so successful here a year or so ago, has run well here in Charlotte. He is running back in the 4th spot, as there's a leader, Jeff Bodine. He's about 7 car lengths now in front of Earnhardt, and we'll see what kind of car Earnhardt's got if he can run Bodine down.
Looking back through the field, Richard Petty seems to have been running very strong as he draws even with Ricky Rudd back there. Kyle Petty has made up some ground. You remember we talked about Kyle. He started in the 41st position, a provisional start, and has just been picking off cars one by one, making his way up. Has made up now about 7 or 8 positions on the racetrack.
That's the first time the Wood brothers have ever had to use a provisional starting spot. In fact, you know, they've had a rough season. A couple of weeks ago, they announced that Southland Corporation and 7-Eleven would not return as sponsor next year. They are about to announce a new sponsor for 87, which will be Citco, the new sponsor on that Ford Thunderbird for Kyle Petty, and they're hoping for good things for next year.
Well, Kyle Petty right now running 34th, as you saw him just pass Brad Teague there a moment ago. 6 laps are complete. Jeff Bodine is still the leader. Dale Earnhardt, who started 3rd and is the Winston Cup points leader, is 2nd. Richard Petty has really moved up through the field. He started on the 16th row, and he too, like his son Kyle, has been picking them off one by one. As you see him there, going by A.J. Foyt in car number 14. He has also gone by Ricky Rudd in car 15. So Richard Petty, the king of the stock car drivers, has made his way up now to the 18th position. So Richard Petty coming off a great win and run at North Wilkesboro. Not a win, but a great run. And there's out of our in-car camera, the Kodak car of Rick Wilson. A shot back to Richard Petty, who is right behind him. He is running in 17th, and our Kodak car, Rick Wilson, running in 16th position.
Now, the car that Petty is in right now is the car he wrecked at Daytona at the very beginning of the year. He had a violent crash in turn 2 down there. He cut a tire, hit the wall, dislocated his shoulder. They have put the car out behind his shop, and we're going to leave it there just and forget about it. But they had to rebuild the car. Why? Because here in May, Charlotte, he destroyed a car during practice and had to buy a car to run in the race. So this car was rebuilt, and that's the car he has here in Charlotte, the car they wrecked in Daytona. He's doing a pretty good job in the car.
Well, he's got it up to 17th position right now. There are your leaders. Dale Earnhardt, for the moment, has been content to run 2nd behind Jeff Bodine, but Jeff Bodine's rather lengthy lead of about 6 or 7 car lengths has been erased now down to about 2 car lengths, and it's a ways back now to Tim Richmond. It's pretty much a 2-car battle now. Earnhardt's going high on the racetrack. Earnhardt high in turn 2. Looked like he wanted to get a shot at Jeff Bodine, but coming down the back straightaway is not able to get enough muscle under his hood to get up with Jeff. And now they go 1 and 2 into turn 3. Jeff Bodine out of Chemung, New York, and Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt's now going to try Bodine low as they head out of turn 4, and it is Earnhardt going side by side. The crowd rises to its feet. Coming across the start-finish line, they are dead even. Bodine and Earnhardt head into turn 1, and Dale looks like he wants to make a bid for the lead right here.
Earnhardt's car got very loose going into turn 1. The rear of the car just about coming around. Earnhardt had to back out of the throttle a little bit. He allows Bodine to ride high. He may back off here on the back straightaway and cool his tires and maybe make a run at Bodine in turn 3. Bodine has about a 2-car length advantage. You know, Earnhardt has a good feel for this track. He doesn't live at about 15 miles away, and he likes this racetrack. He likes to run it down low as he's doing right now, and he may make another move on Bodine here in the trioval.
Well, if the first 11 laps are any indication, we're going to see quite a race, and there is caution out on the racetrack. We have caution out on the racetrack now, our first caution of the day, as 11 laps have been complete here in the Oakwood Homes 500. Jeff Bodine still the leader, and as you see, Flagman Harold Kinder waves the yellow flag. Let's take a look now, Jerry, and see exactly what you were talking about down in turn 1.
Okay, here they're diving through the trioval. Earnhardt on the inside and Bodine up high. As they go into turn one, Earnhardt has to keep the car down on the bottom of the racetrack. As he cuts the car to the left, you see the rear end begin to slide. He overcorrects, he corrects the car. You see a little smoke from those tires. He gathers it back in, and that is a true pro. An excellent driver who saved that car, which could have been disastrous.
Well, it'll be interesting to see who comes down on pit road. Tim Richmond faked like he was going to, and then they saw everybody else staying out there. He decided to stay out. Jeff Bodine is the leader. There is debris on the racetrack. We are still under caution here at Charlotte. Eli Gold is in the Richard Petty pit. Let's go down to Eli now.
Right now alongside of us, Richard's cousin Dale Inman just communicating a bit with Richard. The car seems to be working awfully well here prior to this first caution.
Well, we've been running pretty good all week down here. We missed qualifying the first day, and then the second day, I don't know, we really got goofed up, didn't make it, but we run pretty good all week, and we're looking for a pretty good day, and right now we're doing right well.
He's patient enough also to let this race come to him and the racetrack to change. He's not going to charge overly hard, really early.
Well, Richard's real good about, on a track like this, finding a place where the car works the best, and we're leaving that up to him, and he'll just have to take care of whatever happens to the track, and we'll make adjustments from there.
That's Richard's crew chief, Dale Inman.
Well, a number of the cars have come down on pit road for new tires and fuel. Does it surprise you this early in the race that some of the leaders have not come in to take on new tires?
No, not really. Maybe the leaders are going to stay out and try to make as few stops as possible. There, Bodine, of course, being the leader, and we're showing the leaderboard now. Mike Earnhardt running in second place, and Richmond sitting back there, you know, content to ride third right now. But a car I think you got to watch is Bill Elliott, who runs this track awfully well. Harry Gant being shown as a fifth place car. We mentioned Richard Petty, and Eli Gold was talking to Dale Inman down there. Petty started 31st and has gone all the way to 16th position in the first 14 laps. So when he runs that well this early, watch out.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on 43. Remember, he ran great in the last race at North Wilkesboro on the short track. Petty fans were going crazy there. So we'll keep an eye on Richard Petty. Right now, a lot of the eyes are on Jeff Bodine. He is your leader. Dale Earnhardt is second, and as we showed you just a moment ago on our leaderboard, Tim Richmond at the moment is running in third place. Let's go down now to Steve Martin, who's standing by in Tim Richmond's pit.
Harry Hyde, the crew chief of the Tim Richmond car. What's going on in Tim's situation right now? It looked like he took a strong start and then fell back a little bit.
Well, we wanted to lead that first lap, and really right now we're studying the tire situation and seeing what the pace is going to be. And right now we're riding real comfortable, and we're not trying any funny stuff right now because we're looking at the last lap, and there's going to be quite a bit of race. There's going to be a lot of racing bust loose here very quick now, and we're going to win this one today for old T.G. Shepard. He's here, so we'll show our strength a little later on.
Well, if you look at what happened in the fall, the racetrack came to you late in the race.
10-4.
That's Harry Hyde, Tim Richmond's crew chief, as the 25 car makes its pace around the track. As our lead car early in the race, he had the pole.
Well, the pace car is now down on pit road, and Jeff Bodine leads them off of turn 4. We're going to green, back to racing here. And it's Earnhardt who goes down low. He wants to challenge Bodine right off. Dale Earnhardt down low as they head into turn 1 now, content to slide in behind Jeff Bodine, trying to find the line around the racetrack that he can get around Jeff. And Dale seems bent for leather on getting around Jeff Bodine, finding a way around him as those two cars have broken out just a little bit as we're back to green. Tim Richmond is in third, Harry Gant is fourth, and Bill Elliott fifth.
Yeah, Harry Gant got a pretty good start as he moved by Elliott here on the restart, but now Earnhardt working the bottom groove. He will work over Jeff Bodine as Gant's car slips a little high, and we wonder if possibly Bodine and Earnhardt would like to pull away from Richmond, Gant, and Elliott and make it a two-car battle and not have to worry about those guys, but Richmond just won't let him do it, Mike. He's pulling in on Earnhardt.
Quite a battle for the 6th position between Neil Bonnett and Darrell Waltrip. The two Budweiser cars were battling for a moment. Darrell Waltrip is now in 6th position, and it's Neil Bonnett and Cale Yarborough who are battling in car 12 and car 28 for 7th spot. And Cale Yarborough has made quite a move up through the field, and that's not unexpected either, Jerry.
No, Cale, the defending champion here, the winner of this race. He has not won this year at all. They've had some good runs. They were so strong in Talladega, and they were strong in Daytona. They have not won. The last race he won was this event 1 year ago. And if he didn't win this year, it would be back since 1966. He has gone a full season on the Winston Cup Tour without a victory.
Well, that's what we call the second pack of cars right there. The 1 through 6 positions are in the leaders, and the second pack you see there, car 55 is Benny Parsons, who now leads them. And he is trying to catch up with that first pack, the top 6, which includes Darrell Waltrip at the end of it. But Benny Parsons also with a strong run here early today. Benny Parsons won at Atlanta a couple of years ago, and that was his last win. And Parsons would like nothing better than a win here at Charlotte today.
Well, the white car you see just behind the car of the 28 of Cale Yarborough, that's Buddy Baker. Baker's up high. It's Neil Bonnett, the car number 12 on the inside. Now, Bonnett has not won this year either, and Baker's last win, that's quite a while ago. In fact, Buddy Baker's last win was years ago. He won at Daytona back in 1983 for the Wood Brothers. He is a winless mark of 72 straight starts. We'd like to correct it. He has won 4 times here in Charlotte, and the last time he won this race was way back in 1967. So now Baker making a move on the inside of Cale Yarborough.
Buddy Baker's best finish this year was a 3rd at Talladega. He was awfully strong that day. Many say he had a chance to win. That was the day that Bobby Hillen Jr. got his first win, but it's Buddy Baker looking pretty strong today. That is the battle now for 8th position, and Buddy Baker is in 8th place right now. Cale Yarborough is 9th, and Neil Bonnett is 10th. Your leader is still Jeff Bodine. The top 3 have not changed in quite a while. That is Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, and Tim Richmond. 1, 2, 3. There is a change in the 5th place car. That is now Darrell Waltrip. Harry Gant is 4th, and Waltrip, who needs desperately to do well today if he's to have a chance in the points championship to defend that championship, is now running in the 5th position, and Waltrip is looking very, very strong right now.
Well, he is, you know, in every single race, with the exception of the one run at Richmond a few weeks ago, in every race since the halfway point at Daytona, Darrell Waltrip has finished in front of Dale Earnhardt. He's been gaining on Earnhardt in that point race. In fact, the difference was about 251 points back in July. Now it's only 122 points. In fact, the last 3 races, Waltrip has closed 86 points off of that lead, so he would like to run well today, but he knows this is Earnhardt's kind of racetrack. This is the track that he runs well. Waltrip now making a move on the inside of Gant as Gant holds him off, but there's the battle for the lead up front. Earnhardt now sneaks on the inside of Bodine.
Well, they're headed down the back straightaway, and Dale Earnhardt is going to make a serious contention for the lead as they come now into turn 3. It is Earnhardt out in front. Bodine is high on the racetrack. Jeff's not going to give it up without a fight. Earnhardt is down low. Now they head out of turn 4 into the front straightaway, as you see, and they're going to come across the start-finish line with Bodine still out in front, still maintaining the lead. Dale Earnhardt will still make a bid for the lead, as this is what they came to Charlotte to see. Great racing. Bodine up high, that is Dale Earnhardt down low, and Earnhardt is out in front, and now he overtakes Jeff Bodine, and your leader now is Dale Earnhardt. Bodine is 2nd, and now there is Tim Richmond right up in with those 3, also making a bid for the lead. Let's go down now to pit road.
Well, it's evident that Dale Earnhardt's strategy is not to lay back. How's the car running, Richard Childress?
Right now it's running real good. We're set up for a crazy racetrack, and if the weather don't change on us and everything, we ought to be in pretty decent shape.
Dale said he had a plan at the beginning of this race. What is it?
Win.
That's Richard Childress, crew chief and owner of Dale Earnhardt's car. And Dale Earnhardt dicing for the lead with Jeff Bodine.
Well, there's now a battle for 2nd place, and Tim Richmond is overtaking Bodine for 2nd place. It is now Earnhardt and then Richmond, then Jeff Bodine. Dale Earnhardt has opened up about a 7-8 car length lead now over Tim Richmond. Jeff Bodine is running 3rd, Harry Gant is 4th, Darrell Waltrip 5th, and Bill Elliott is 6th. Tim Richmond also showing his colors right now.
You have to wonder maybe if Gary Nelson, maybe one of our pit reporters, can check in the Bodine pit and see if they have told Bodine to back down a little bit, to back off and conserve the car just a little bit, because Bodine went out awfully strong at the drop of the green and led early, and now he has dropped back behind the likes of Earnhardt and Tim Richmond. You know, Bodine had a good run here last year, only to have it all go up in smoke on lap 319 when they broke the camshaft. So they were hoping to have a good run today, so maybe they won't use the car early on, but maybe Bodine has been told by Gary Nelson, who's one of the sharpest young crew chiefs there behind pit wall, to maybe cool it a little bit. We got a long race today. Stay out there, stay toward the front, and just stay out of trouble.
Well, Jeff Bodine, of course, won the first race of the year, the Daytona 500. There's Bill Elliott now, who has gone past Darrell Waltrip. That's the battle for 5th place, and Elliott is back in 5th place. Darrell Waltrip, for the moment, content to run 6th on the racetrack. And as we mentioned, Darrell Waltrip needs to do well today. He's 122 points behind Dale Earnhardt in those Winston Cup point standings. Bill Elliott's another one who would like a win and hasn't had one in a good while. And Elliott has been running a lot stronger recently. It says the team is really just now recovering from the sickness early in the year of the crew chief, Ernie Elliott.
Boy, they missed Ernie Elliott so much. He's the senior of the Elliott brothers, 39 years old, and You know, they've got Dan Elliott, who's the middle brother, and Ernie, who's 30 years old. And Bill, pardon me, who's 30 years old, is the youngest of the three. They missed Ernie so much at Daytona and early in the year. Now he is back, has recovered, and he is hoping to maybe put that car back in victory lane. After last year's season of 11 wins, anything would be anticlimactic to that, but they all have won 2 races this year, and they've also sat on the pole 3 times.
Well, Bill Elliott says himself that he has had a good year and considers it a good year. Let's go down now to the Jeff Bodine pit.
We're with Gary Nelson, crew chief of Jeff Bodine's number 5 car. Gary started out strong, but he's backed off a bit. Is that part of the plan, or is there something wrong with the car?
No, we like to lead all that we can, so when we're not the leader, we know we've got to work on the car. It's a little bit loose right now. We're going to make some adjustments, and I think we're real close.
Gas mileage is very important to this track. You know, you guided Bobby Allison around this place in 73 laps back in 1983. Can you do the same with Jeff Bodine in this car today?
You never know until you get into the race and see how much the times drop off. We're looking at probably 65 to 67 laps for our initial stop, and then we'll take a reading from that and see how we can go.
Obviously, Gary Nelson thinks Jeff Bodine's pretty close. He's been close all year long with 9 poles on the Winston Cup circuit.
28 laps are complete here at the Oakwood Homes 500. Car 43, Richard Petty, has now moved up to 15th position. There are still 40 cars on the lead lap, and that's just indicative of the great competition we have now on the Winston Cup circuit.
You know, you hear Gary Nelson tell our pit reporter that the car is a little bit loose and it's a little bit, it's not handling that well. And then you heard him talk to Richard Childress, the car owner for their car, for the Earnhardt car, and he said they thought they had the car dialed in for a greasy racetrack. Well, that's the difference. The Earnhardt car is tight. The rear weight has been adjusted down so that the rear of the car will stick low in the corners, expecting the track to be awfully slippery and greasy. Whereas the Bodine car is set up more for a little tight racetrack. So their car now is slipping and sliding in the corners, and that's the difference. Earnhardt's now car running in the bottom groove is very competitive, and the Bodine car is trying to hang on, running in the middle or upper groove of the track.
A car that's really making a move is Benny Parsons, car number 55. He is now in 6th place on the racetrack and has just passed Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip has slipped back now to 7th place, and Benny Parsons sets his sights now on Bill Elliott, who is the 5th place car. Benny Parsons, car number 55.
And there's Benny Parsons, one of the veteran campaigners out of nearby Ellerbe, North Carolina, now in 6th spot in that Copenhagen Oldsmobile. And Leo Jackson, the car owner and crew chief, one of the super nicest people you'd want to meet in this sport. You know, Parsons has won here at Charlotte in the past. He has 2 victories. Last time he won this race was back in 1977. So he has had a rough year. We mentioned the fact that the only win he had was in an invitational race back in Atlanta, and he has been awfully close. He had a good run at Michigan, but late in the race had trouble, blew the engine, hit the wall. This is the car that they wrecked at Michigan, by the way, when he had such a good run going, so it's the first time they've started it since then.
Well, the first race of the year, he finished 5th in the Daytona 500. He also finished 5th in the Talladega 500. Those are his 2 best finishes of the year. Now let's take a look back at the battle for 4th place. Harry Gant in car 33 is running 4th on the racetrack, and that's pretty amazing. He's had a lot of other things on his mind this week. Harry Gant has. His dad has had major surgery in Winston-Salem, and Harry has been running back and forth between here and there, and it's pretty much a testimonial to the way he can get out here and just bulldog it a little bit to come out here and keep that car in the 4th position right now.
Well, Harry's a competitor, and he wants to run. He would like to win this race, and particularly for the fact that his dad has been so close to Harry over all the years in their construction business, and the fact that they've been raising chickens over there in Taylorsville and having a lot of personal contact. He's been one of Harry's biggest supporters, and Harry would like to cheer him on back to good health with a victory here today.
Well, I'm sure his dad is cheering him on from a hospital bed.
Here's Bobby Allison's car in the pits, Mike, and he has tagged the wall with that Miller Buick, and the right front, you see, is pinned in against that right front tire. Allison wheeling slowly down pit road. That's one of the Stavola brothers' cars, and Bobby Hudson, Pat Broyles, and the crew will go to work, and they have their work cut out for him. As the car now comes to a halt, there's Allison in the pits.
Well, you know, that's not the first time I think we'll see that today. A lot of the drivers all week long said that this might happen. You try to run up high, get a little bit close to that wall, and the track is slick, and those things can happen. Let's go down now to Eli Gold.
The right side tires, as you can clearly see, being changed on the Allison car, taking the opportunity to put in a fill of Unical gasoline, and with the extra crew member allowed over the wall on these warmer races, they're giving Bobby a full fill of Gatorade or other suitable work. But right now, the crew try to peel that sheet metal away from the right front, the tire change having been effective, but they want to make sure that sheet metal is away from the tire so it doesn't cause one to go down again.
Well, Bobby Allison, the first car to have trouble here, and now here is Dale Earnhardt, who is side by side now with Tim Richmond. That is the battle for the lead. Jeff Bodine is right behind them there, and any mistake by the front two, and Bodine will be right there. Those three cars battling for the lead, and Earnhardt apparently is going to slip down just a little bit, and it's going to be Richmond sticking his car out in front as they come down the front straightaway, and Tim Richmond is back where he started this race, out front.
Well, Richmond back up front. You know, Kyle Petty's been having a little bit of trouble last time by. His car was bobbing and weaving here out of turn 4, and he had some problems. Let's go down to the Kyle Petty pit.
Kyle Petty started next to last, and he's now running 16 positions ahead of where he started, Leonard Wood. A good run.
Yeah, he's doing real well and beginning to get a little bit loose right now, so we're going to make a weight adjustment on the next pit stop and hopefully make a better showing yet, but he looks real good at the moment.
So that would account for the bobbing and weaving that you fellas were talking about. Kyle Petty will be taking an adjustment as Dale Earnhardt now makes his way down pit road. Kirk Shelmerdine, Richard Childress, and the crew quickly going to work on the Wrangler Chevrolet. They'll change left side tires quickly, and one crew member, Cecil Gordon, scampering to the right side of the car, and he's going to check the right side tires. A full fill of gasoline. Left side tires and an eyeballing of the right side tires. Taking a little late getting that left rear changed. This is going to be a lengthy pit stop. 24, 25, 26 seconds and counting. Dale Earnhardt finally down and away from the Wrangler pits.
Well, Jerry Punch, something obviously is amiss on the Wrangler car, number 3 of Dale Earnhardt. He has now gone a lap down, and that is not good news at all for Dale Earnhardt. That was not a scheduled pit stop.
That was not a scheduled stop. They were not ready for him. He's now pulling back on the track. You see Darrell Waltrip now running by him, but that was not a scheduled stop. As you heard some of the pit crew members talking earlier, they can go about 65 miles on fuel here, but apparently we just have to guess that possibly Earnhardt felt a vibration in the car. He knew he had a tire going down. He radioed very quickly. They came over the wall, and to lose only one lap, and the fact that he was probably in turn 3 when he felt the vibration is a pretty good indication that they were ready for him to come in and make that left side tire change.
Well, that crew is one of the best on the circuit as they now begin to push the Bobby Allison car behind the wall. Dale Earnhardt, as we said, has gone a lap down. That moves Harry Gann up into 3rd place. Tim Richmond is still the leader. There you see the separation between Richmond and Bodine, cars 25 and 5. Both out of the Rick Hendrick stables. They started on the front row, 1 and 2, and they are running 1 and 2 in this race right now. Trying to find out what is going on down in the Dale Earnhardt pit. Obviously, something is wrong with the car, or maybe he had a tire going down or something, but we will be checking on that for you in just a moment. Again, Dale Earnhardt, who started 3rd today, has gone a lap down. Bill Elliott is 4th, and Benny Parsons in car 55, as we have said, having a great run today. He's running 5th. 1 and 2, it is Richmond in car 25 and Jeff Bodine in car number 5.
We can draw a correlation between what happened with Earnhardt right now and what happened with Cale Yarborough in this race last year. Yarborough won this race, but on lap 28, he cut a tire down. As he was leading early in the race, he cut a tire, came in, made the tire change, but he lost a lap. In fact, he lost another lap during the race when he ran out of fuel, so he had 2 laps to make up in this race a year ago and came back to win it. So don't count Dale Earnhardt out, because that's exactly the same thing that happened to Yarborough last year, and he came back and took the victory.
Well, the right caution flag at the right time, and Dale Earnhardt will be right back up there. So again, you're right, Jerry Punch. We can't count him out. There's Cale Yarborough, the defending champion of this race, and a guy who really wants to win today. Probably a guy in his pits who wants to win too, Joey Knuckles, who is now the head guy on that Cale Yarborough team and will be the head guy when Davey Allison drives car number 28 next year. And Joey'd like to be the crew chief on a winning car today.
Well, he would be. Joey is the crew chief. He sort of runs the operation on race day. Robert Yates actually is the team manager now. Took Waddell Wilson's place. That's who JT Lundy and Harry Raniere have hired to run that operation. That's a Robert Yates engine in the car. They have run awfully well with the engines, and Joey Knuckles, the young 25-year-old crew chief here on race day, does a super job in running the operation and changing tires.
We are 42 laps complete here in the Oakwood Homes 500. As you see the hood going up on the Randy Baker machine. Randy just tickled to death to get in this race. Has to be one of the thrills of his life. Richard Petty, as we have said, has been continually moving up through the field. Now he is trying to take on Neil Bonnett. That is the battle for 11th place 11th position. Now remember, Richard Petty started 31st today, and in 43 laps, car 43 is now battling for 11th place. He's dialed in.
I hope he's not superstitious at all, but he certainly is making his move toward the front. And Petty would like, he has been getting stronger and stronger. Dale Inman, his cousin, who is the crew chief we talked to earlier down in the pits, was with him for many, many years, and they won over 180 feature wins in the Winston Cup Tour. He was gone for a couple of years. This is the first year they've been back together. They have been struggling. They've had a lot of hard luck. Of course, we mentioned Petty's accident at Daytona early in the year when he dislocated his shoulder. He had a concussion here at Charlotte back in May. He has been beaten and battered and bandaged all year long, and now with a few races left, he would like to pick up that one win that makes all this beating and battering worthwhile.
Your leader is Jeff Bodine, or rather Tim Richmond. Jeff Bodine is running second as you continue to look at the battle between Petty and Neil Bonnett. Tim Richmond on the pole out of Ashland, Ohio, is having a great run today. Now let's try to check in on what was the problem with that Earnhardt car. We'll go down to Dale Earnhardt's pit.
His car owner is Richard Childress. What was the problem, Richard?
Well, with something happened under the front of the car, we thought it was the left front tire, but we don't know. We're just going to hold on here and check it.
Richard Childress saying it was a guessing game, and they hope they made the right guess.
Dale Earnhardt appears to be running very, very well. Of course, he's got fresh tires on right now and is running very strong, but he is a lap down. Your leader is Tim Richmond. Jeff Bodine and Harry Gant are trying to catch him. We're back at Charlotte now, and you are looking at Dale Earnhardt, who is back in for another unscheduled pit stop. They're going down to the right side of the car. They are looking all underneath the front of the car. They're changing the right side tires on the car. Eli Gold is down there right now.
Again, we heard that Richard Childress had hoped they had made the right guess before. It was not obviously that left rear tire that gave them problems. So at this moment, after a quick look and again change of right side tires, Earnhardt is backing away.
And Earnhardt now 2 laps down, Mike. He lost another lap on that pit stop. He came in the first time on lap 37. He just came back in on lap 47, so they have not having good luck thus far today. He is now 2 laps down, and maybe they have corrected the problem. They made, as you heard Eli say, they made a left side tire change the first time, now right side tire change. And if there's anything else with the car that's wrong, they may have to bring him back in again. But we noticed, Mike, that when he went back out after that first pit stop, he didn't run that well. But now he's back on the racetrack, and you see him on the screen there. Now he's running awfully well on the track. Looks like he's back in the form he had in the early laps here.
So maybe he does have things going. And don't you think that Darrell Waltrip and Tim Richmond, especially Tim, who's leading this race, know that Dale Earnhardt's having a little problem out there?
I'm sure they're aware of it. There's the leaderboard, Mike. Tim Richmond is the leader, and Bodine runs in second spot.
Well, as you see, Harry Gant, Bill Elliott, Benny Parsons, we've talked about them all, especially Benny Parsons having a great run today. And in the back of their minds, I would think that Darrell Waltrip and Tim Richmond are saying, hey, now's our chance. We hate that Earnhardt has problems, or maybe they don't hate that he has problems, but when these guys see a little break, they're going for it, and more than ever, they want to have a good run here today.
Well, if they can get a good finish, it's a long day, so they can certainly have problems very quickly here. And Jeff Bodine knows better than anybody. He's had so many good runs here in Charlotte, but only for it all to come up in smoke toward the end of the race. Richmond turning some awfully quick laps on the racetrack. His last lap speed over 154 miles an hour. Now, he qualified at over 167, but they don't run that fast in the racetrack during the race because there's a lot of traffic on the track, and a lot of the track gets awfully slippery.
Well, as we mentioned, Bobby Allison had pulled his car behind the wall after he tagged the wall and had severe damage to the sheet metal on the front right quarter panel. Let's go down now to Bobby Allison behind the wall.
Bobby, what happened out there?
I blew a tire.
And he hit the wall with
something cut it. Probably some debris cut it.
How was the car running up until that point?
I thought it was running real good. We'd moved way up, and I thought we were running real good.
That's too bad, because you've run well in this race at Charlotte. You've run well at this racetrack, and you had an excellent chance here today.
I think I did, yeah.
Bobby Allison, can you get back out today?
I don't think so. The car's wrecked really bad.
Some extensive damage to the right side, the windshield crack. Also, the right front quarter is also beat up pretty bad. They're trying to get it in shape, but as you heard Bobby say, doesn't look like it's going to be a day for Bobby Allison out at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
We know, Jerry, that might give some of the other guys who were back down a little bit in the point standings a chance to come back and really gain some ground.
Allison was fourth in the points, and Rudd only 15 points back along with Elliott, but battle up now in the front for the lead.
And it's Jeff Bodine who is down low on the racetrack, but they're coming up on lap traffic now, and I think Jeff, being the wise driver that he is, tucks behind Tim and says, I think I'll wait for another opportunity.
Well, they go by the 26 car, the Joe Ruttman car, going by one of the young rookie competitors, the 81. That is Chet Phillip, as those two cars head down the back straightaway. Richmond content, the car running awfully well. It was here back in May that Tim Richmond started his run toward the front. He was in 10th in the point standings overall, had not had but one top 5 finish, and he finished second here in May. Since that second place finish in May, he has won 6 races, finished runner-up 4 times, and sat on the pole I don't know how many times. He has been just absolutely devastating in his pursuit for the Winston Cup Championship.
Well, it has been a great effort. Indeed, it has.
We have trouble in turn 2 as one car spinning around. That is Sterling Marlin in the Bullseye Barbecue Hoss Ellington car, and that will bring out the first caution flag of the afternoon. The second caution flag, pardon me, we had one for debris. There's the Marlin car now as it's limping along the apron out of turn 2. Was about to say you were calling that pit stop on Rusty Wallace. That would be a routine scheduled stop as they're running about 60 laps in the books, and there's the yellow flag being waved to the field.
And that's a bad break for Rusty because he pitted under green, and the next lap the caution flag has come out. And down on pit road, everybody is stirring down on pit road as you look at Sterling Marlin's car just sitting there out of turn 2. And I think we are going to see everybody bunch up and come down on pit road now. This is really some sight. It is almost as exciting to watch as the racing itself, and here they come. Jeff Bodine leads them around turn 4. Now watch, everybody's going to take that hard left and come down on pit road.
Well, they're going to be under caution, but they're probably going to get a 4-tire change as Bodine, Tim Richmond, all of them come sliding down to their pits. There's Harry Gant, Tommy Ellis car. They go into work in their pits. As many of the leaders are down, there is the Richmond car getting serviced. Bodine on the bottom of the screen. Let's go down to the pits for these pit stops.
We're in Jeff Bodine's pit right now. They're taking on right side rubber, getting some gasoline in there. About 13 seconds. It's a yellow flag pit stop. Now they're going to go to the left side of the car and take some tires in. And, of course, they're going to make an adjustment in the back of the car, putting some wedge into the car. You heard Gary Nelson say earlier that they were having trouble with that, and they're off in about 20 seconds. Now down pit road to Eli.
Richard Petty having been serviced. Now the crew jacking up the left side of the car. Tire change going there, so they take opportunities now to make a tire change all the way around. Some Gatorade for Richard Petty, and crew chief Dale Inman was directing folks leaning into the car, changing the wedge and readjusting exactly how the car sits on the chassis to give Richard some better handling on the racetrack.
Well, Sterling Marlin has gotten his car fired up and is now bringing it around the racetrack and will come down on pit road for service.
Well, Sterling in his 9th Winston Cup start of the year. There's the Kodak car, our in-car camera for Rick Wilson. We see him moving down pit road, and Neil Bonnett behind him going back out on turn 1, back on the racetrack as they go around some of the slower traffic. But Sterling Marlin having a pretty good run. He finished second at Daytona this year, and he finished 4th at Talladega. There's the car number 1, the damaged Bullseye Barbecue Chevrolet for Sterling Marlin, and it was announced this week that he will be assuming the ride that Terry Labonte will vacate. Labonte going to take over the Darrell Waltrip ride up at Junior Johnson's shop, and that Sterling Marlin will be getting into car number 44. Eli Gold standing by in the Sterling Marlin pit.
They have taken a sledgehammer or 2 to the right front of the automobile. Crew members are there trying to shear back that sheet metal from where it made contact with the wall. Hoss Ellington and the crew looking over this automobile. They've already made the tire change. They're now coming to the left side. Sterling runs over the air hose. Now he stops the car. Doesn't quite run over the hose. We ought to correct ourselves there, but they have elected at the last moment to make a left side tire change, and the left rear giving them all sorts of trouble. They have effected repairs to the right front of the car, and now finally they speed away. A little confusion as to whether a 2 or a 4 tire change was called for here in the pits, and it cost Sterling Marlin yet some more time.
Boy, that's what happens sometimes when you don't run all the races and are not out here week after week, and the crew really doesn't get all that much practice time. Sometimes there is a bit of confusion, and it's not quite as smooth as some of these guys who are out here for 30 races a year.
But in fairness to Hoss Ellington and the crew down there, Rutt Pittman and the crew, they really didn't know how much time it would take them to get that sheet metal beat away from the right front tire, to beaten away. And they certainly were hoping maybe to get 4 tires on it. Benny Parsons, Copenhagen Oldsmobile down pit road. A good run for Parsons here early on as Leo Jackson and the crew have serviced that car. But most of the cars taking advantage of this yellow flag, Mike, to come in and get 4 tires, a full tank of fuel. And from here they can go another 60, maybe 5 to 70 laps on fuel, barring any other yellow flags.
But on most yellow flags today, we will see practically all the leaders coming down on pit road to get new tires on at least.
We might mention that NASCAR, in a safety move for this race, because of the heat, because of the 90-degree plus temperatures here and over 100 degrees in the race cars, they have allowed an extra crewman over the wall to service the driver. They normally allow 5 guys to work on the car. 1 is a catch can man, which holds the can and catches any overflow from the fueling of the car, but the extra man will be to service the driver, to give him something cool to drink and wipe him down, keep him as cool as possible.
We'll be back to Green Flag Racing right after these messages from your local stations. We're about ready to go back to Green Flag Racing here, and the caution was for an accident involving Ken Reagan of Unadilla, Georgia. And we're going to take a look at it one more time, just the tail end of it here. Well, we'll go back to green and get this race back underway here as these cars really are bunched up together. Benny Parsons, the leader. There's Dale Earnhardt in car number 3. He's a couple laps down as he made some unscheduled pit stops early. And Jeff Bodine will try to make his way back up. Also moving up there is Morgan Shepherd in car number 75. The cars are bunched tightly together now, and it is Jeff Bodine. There's trouble on the back straightaway. It is Morgan Shepherd and Bodine who get together. Shepherd spins around, caution is back out, and there's still more trouble back in the pack.
Many cars back in the Packer just keep colliding and beating and battering back and forth. This looks like a pinball machine back there. There's the Del McCoward car, Eddie Biersfeld, the car number 17. There's the 81 car sitting crumpled. That is Chet Phillips Ford. As just up to the right of that, you see the Morgan Shepherd trying to get the car number 75, the Nationwide car, refired. He has that car fired, but the car you're looking at, the orange front end, was a Ford Thunderbird for Chet Phillip, a rookie driver out of Azona, Texas, former IndyCar driver, and that car has taken a hard contact with the inside retaining wall.
5, maybe 6 cars, maybe even more involved in that. Among them, Joe Ruttman has severe damage to his car. He was involved in it. Of course, Morgan Shepherd and Jeff Bodine, the 2 that started it all. Caution is out.
Here is Cale Yarborough's Hardee's Ford, and damage to the front of that car. It looks like Cale will have a lot of work cut out for his crew. Joey Knuckles and the crew will have to go to work on that car. The front of that car severely crumpled in, and the reigning and defending Oakwood Homes 500 champion looks like he will make that hard left-hand turn, Mike Hogwood, and he'll head for the garage area.
Boy, what a tough day it is for Cale Yarborough, as he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Morgan Shepherd is down on pit road now, and also taking a hard left to the garage area. That is Redmond in car number 26. There is down in the Kyle Petty pit. Look at the damage to the left front on that car. Kyle Petty, who had trouble here all week long starting this race, started 41st with a provisional start today.
That's Lynn Wood there changing the left front tire on the Kyle Petty car, and Leonard Wood and Eddie Wood there talking to him. You see the Kodak car now. He escaped most of this, Rick Wilson. And there is Super Tex, A.J. Foyt, 4-time Indy 500 winner, takes that Copenhagen Gilmore Oldsmobile back to the garage area. He has severe front end damage, and he will park it here at Charlotte.
Now let's go down to Eli Gold, who's standing by with Cale Yarborough.
We're here in the garage with Cale Yarborough, beaten and bruised. What happened out there?
Well, somebody spun up at the front of the pack coming down the backstretch, and I saw it happening. I was right in the middle of the backstretch, so I backed out to, to find a spot to get through, and evidently whoever was behind me didn't see what was happening. They just drove flat out right into the back of me.
The car was working fairly well for you.
Car was coming around good. We were a little bit loose to begin with, and last 2 stops we made some changes, and I felt good about it.
Well, add to the attrition rate today, Cale Yarborough.
We saw them pulling Chet Phillip out of the car just a moment ago. Hopefully he'll be all right. We'll be checking on that. Richard Petty down on pit road as we take a look at the replay here.
Let's take a look and see what happened. There is the Morgan Shepherd car spinning. It has already come into contact with the outside retaining wall. A number of cars sliding by. There's Richard Petty going underneath him, as now just 3, 4, 5, almost a dozen cars battering back and forth just up above where that car has come to rest. There's the Del McCoward car number 0 in the picture. Harry Gant slips by. There's Eddie Bierswell in the car number 17, as Jimmy Means' car now slipping on the inside. So Chet Phillips' car heavily damaged, and he has been taken from the car. Apparently he was talking to the safety crews, and they're concerned about possibly a leg injury because the front of the car did take quite a lick there, and possibly your legs can beat and batter around inside against those pedals underneath the dashboard.
Okay, also sustaining some damage was Richard Petty. He's down on pit road, and there's the car that started it all. The Nationwide car of Morgan Shepherd, Robin Pemberton, and the crew going to work on that with a lot of duct tape to get that car taped up and able to go back out on the racetrack. And just the slightest little thing when they're going at the speeds they're traveling today can make these cars get out of shape a little bit and start spinning around and into the wall. As you see Richard Petty, as they have done some extended work on that car.
Yeah, some sheet metal damage on the front of the Petty car, the STP Pontiac. A little bit of smoke from beneath the car when he changes gears coming up through the gearbox there, headed down pit road. They have a little bit of damage on the front of the car, not much, as Petty was able to scoot beneath most of that melee over out of turn 2 down the back straightaway. And there's the Chet Phillip car, the Circle Bar Truck Corral, car number 81. And Chet Phillip, a young rookie driver, hoping to run. He's in 3rd place overall in the rookie standings behind Alan Kulwicki and Mike Waltrip. And at 29 years of age, he certainly would like to make his career in Winston Cup competition. He's had a pretty good year. They were hoping to run the rest of the year, but that car looks like it's pretty well used up, and it may go back to the junkyard.
Well, let's go over who the cars were that were taken out of this race. They were Joe Rudman and Morgan Shepherd, Cale Yarborough, A.J. Foyt, Delma Cowart, and Chet Phillip were all knocked out of the race, and some slight damage to Kyle Petty's car, Richard Petty's car, and Eddie Birchwell's car. 90 laps are complete. We are still under caution. Jeff Bodine is the leader. Back at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, showing now one more lap to run under caution. 125 laps are complete. Mike Hogwood along with Jerry Punch. Glad you're with us. Alan Kulwicki is our leader, but running second is Neil Bonnett. Neil has not had a great year this year and says he would like to finish out his tenure running for Junior Johnson on a good note, at least being able to give some wins. He is going to lead the Junior Johnson stables this year and drive for the number 75 team, the Raymock Racing team next year. Let's go down now to the Neil Bonnett pits down on pit road.
We're talking with Tim Brewer, Neil Bonnett's crew chief, and I know he's second right now. He was second before that caution came out, but it probably won't be long before Neil can attack the top.
Well, you know, they've got that lap 135, about $10,000 up for grabs. You know, I'm just pretty glad we're up there and, you know, have a pretty good shot at it right now.
You just took a four-tire change, and Alan Kulwicki, who's the leader, just has 2 tires. That gives you a pretty good opportunity here, doesn't it?
It gives us a pretty good advantage over Kulwicki, but, you know, you got Richmond sitting there and Harry Gant behind you. You know, they like that 10,000 too, so, you know, it's going to be pretty tough.
The tires tell you a story. What did the 4 tires that you took off tell you just a moment ago?
We're in pretty good shape for the rest of the afternoon, unless the racetrack makes a drastic change.
Well, we're going to green. Tim Brewer talking about Neil Bonnett's chances here at Charlotte.
Okay, the pace car pulls down on pit road. Jerry Punch will sit back and watch Alan Kulwicki, the rookie driver in car number 35. Can he hold the rest of these veterans off as they come across the start-finish line and take the green? Rusty Wallace is a lap down. He is on the inside, and he and Kulwicki are side by side. It is Neil Bonnett, the veteran, who is right behind Kulwicki, and will try to make a move on him in a hurry. Coming out of turn 2, it is Bonnett who ducks down low, and Neil Bonnett looks like he's going to shoot by Alan Kulwicki, and Bonnett now side by side. Kulwicki showing some real savvy on the racetrack trying to hold him off, but as they come into turn 3, it doesn't look like Alan Kulwicki's going to be able to do it, and Neil Bonnett heading out of turn 4 down the front straightaway. Bonnett is now your leader. Rusty Wallace has made up his lap. He's at the tail end of the lead lap out in front.
And Neil Bonnett now moves inside of Alan Kulwicki. We might mention that this car that Alan Kulwicki is driving is the car that Cale Yarborough won this race in a year ago. It's owned by Larry Coleman, a businessman out of Memphis, Tennessee, and Alan Kulwicki, one of the top young rookie competitors, qualified here in 7th spot. Let's go down to Alan Kulwicki's pits where Eli Gold is standing by.
We're with Norman Negray, who has prepared the car. And Norman, you were out there at the point, albeit for a short while. You've got to be awfully tickled the way Alan's running this season.
Yeah, we're running real good right now. We fell back there on that first pit stop. We wanted to get back up front, so we just stayed out. We just put them tires on, so we just left them on across the board.
Does the team feel they have the champion spark plug rookie honors pretty well wrapped up, or don't you allow yourself that confidence yet?
Well, it ain't over till the vote's over.
And that is Norman Negray, also known as Yogi Negray, as we continue from Charlotte.
Lap 128, and Tim Richmond, as you saw on the backstretch, put his car number 25 machine ahead of Neil Bonnett. It looked like he might have just scraped the wall coming off of turn 4. That's how high these guys are running. get up close to that wall, and Tim Richmond is really dialed in as he now jumps out to several car length lead over Neil Bonnett and Harry Gant. Harry Gant is trying to battle Neil Bonnett now for that second position.
And Tim Richmond really showing his hand now, flexing the muscle in that Folgers TG Shepherd car. And one car that's come out of the pack now, Harry Gant, is running in second spot, but the battle back behind, you see those two cars, that is Benny Parsons on the inside of Neil Bonnett as Tim Richmond leads the way, just 4 laps away from $10,000.
Neil Bonnett has slipped back to 4th position as Benny Parsons is now in 3rd place. Harry Gant, car number 33, is in 2nd. You see the banking in these turns, and you also saw a little puff of smoke coming out of Jeff Bodine's car. Car number 5 might have been tire smoke, but it'll be something to keep an eye on as we continue here. 131 is the lap number. 135 will pay another $10,000 to the leader at that lap, and I'm sure Tim Richmond would like to go after that money if he possibly can. They are really running close to the wall coming out of turn 4.
And Mike, we mentioned earlier that Dale Earnhardt had lost 2 laps early in the race with those 2 unscheduled pit stops. He has now made both those laps up. He is not in the hunt, but there is Earnhardt running back behind, trying to go high around Buddy Baker and reeling in the smoking car. That's got to be tire smoke on the right rear tire of Jeff Bodine, but just how long can they run with that tire rubbing? There you see Earnhardt, who's now being shown in 7th position. We mentioned that he might not be out of the hunt, and he's not. He's back in the top 10, moving in on Buddy Baker.
Buddy Baker is running 6th, and it's Jeff Bodine who is being posted in the number 5 position right now. But it's Dale Earnhardt who is down low on the racetrack, 3 abreast. They come across the front straightaway. Baker, Earnhardt, and Jeff Bodine, 3 veteran racers heading into turn 1. And it is Earnhardt who's going to stick his nose out in front. Bodine is going to be knocked all the way back now to 7th position. And remaining in 6th spot is Buddy Baker in car 88. But from being 2 laps down, Dale Earnhardt has made his way up now to the number 5 position on the racetrack. And Dale Earnhardt has this crowd on his feet here at Charlotte as Tim Richmond has a pretty comfortable lead in that race for the $10,000 at the lap 135 mark.
And there's Earnhardt showing back in 5th spot. There's the separation between Richmond, the leader, and Harry Gant in 2nd spot. This lap will be for 10 grand, Mike, $10,000 special money lap. And Tim Richmond has showed his hand early. Harry Hyde says go ahead and go for it. So Richmond put that red, white numeral Chevrolet Monte Carlo at the point.
Well, he'll get $10,000 if he leads when he crosses the start-finish line this time by. Be interesting to see if he might back off a little bit and run that car a little more comfortably now that he has just picked up that extra $10,000. Harry Gant 2nd and Benny Parsons 3rd. Those 3 cars kind of strung out a bit. And then it's another couple of car lengths back to the 4th place car of Neil Bonnett, and then Dale Earnhardt in 5th.
Well, I'm sure Harry Hyde and the Folgers crew have got to be awfully happy with Tim Richmond now, because knowing that he has put that car back out front in front of Harry Gant and Benny Parsons. But one car that really seems to be making a move is Parsons. Parsons now back in 3rd spot. There's the Tim Richmond car. You see Harry Gant's car coming into the picture. He's still some 4 or 5 car lengths back as he now is reeling in Richmond. But Benny Parsons' car just coming in the picture now. It's about 10 car lengths back from Gant, and he is really starting to make a move toward the front.
136 laps are complete. David Sotheby, car number 91, just took his car behind the wall. Bobby Hillen is down on pit road again and had some sheet metal cut away from that car. There's a good battle back in the pack for 8th position between Ricky Rudd, Rick Wilson, and Sterling Marlin. As Alan Kowicki has now joined that fight as well. Again, that is the battle for 8th spot, currently owned by Ricky Rudd, and Alan Kowicki has made his way up. He got knocked back to 12th and is now back up fighting for 8th position. And the battle between Rudd and Kowicki. Ricky Rudd is a driver who in this latter part of this Winston Cup season has really come on and has really been running well. He has a win to his credit and has been competitive in every race he's been in.
Well, Rudd has won twice this year on the circuit. He won early in the year at Martinsville, Virginia, and he won a few weeks back at Dover, Delaware. So the Budmore car, the Motorcraft car, running awfully well. That's a pair of Fords there. Ricky Rudd, a young driver out of Chesapeake, Virginia, has had some good runs going. He had a car destroyed up at Martinsville a few weeks back, and he came into contact with Kyle Petty, and there was some fines levied by NASCAR over that encounter. But now Rudd back with a Super Speedway car, running pretty well. Here's a battle up front, Mike, for the lead.
All right, and it's Harry Gant who has shown a lot of strength and a lot of consistency all day long today, trying to overtake the leader, the pole winner, And the man who started out front in this race, Tim Richmond, Harry Gant, has closed the gap now to just a couple of car lengths as they come down the front straightaway. Richmond is still the leader, but he has to know that the man they call Handsome Harry is right behind him. You mentioned Ricky Rudd a moment ago. He's never won here in Charlotte. His best finish in this race was third back in 1981.
Well, he would like to win. You know, he's had some pretty good runs at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Gant has won here in Charlotte. He won back in 1982 in the Oakwood Homes 500. But Tim Richmond, well, he hasn't won. His best finish here, a second back early in the year in this World 600 back in May. He finished second to Dale Earnhardt, but he has not had a real good finish in this race, the fall race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He would like to change that today and pick up his first victory.
Harry Gant's best finish this year, only a second place finish. He has not won in the entire season of 1986, and the races are getting short, only 4 to go, and I know Harry Gant wants to pick up at least one win before this season is over with. Here's the battle for third place, and lo and behold, look who's up there. Car number 3, Dale Earnhardt, has made his way back up and is now battling for third position. Benny Parsons has slipped back now to 5th place. Neil Bonnett has picked up a little bit and is running third. And Dale Earnhardt is right on the back bumper of Neil Bonnett now, wants to take a look down low, decides not to get by him, and tucks it back in behind him. There is smoke showing from the Sterling Marlin car. He has slowed down considerably on the racetrack, and serious problems for the Sterling Marlin car. It looks like it's going to be a long day for Hoss Ellington, the owner of car number 1, and for that entire team.
Looks like the day may be over for Sterling Marlin, the young driver who we said will go on into the car number 44, the Piedmont Airlines car for 1987. And a lot of rumors, Mike, as to who will get in that car. We understand that Hoss Ellington has talked with young Brett Bodine, the youngest brother or younger brother of Jeff Bodine. There's Sterling Marlin, who has run so well this year in that car. He finished second at Daytona back in July to Tim Richmond, and he has had some good runs, but looks like the Bullseye Barbecue car number 1 will call it a day here in Charlotte. The car coasts now down the back straightaway on the track apron and heads for the garage area.
And Dale Earnhardt has now made his way back up into third position and will now set his sights on Harry Gant. Dale Earnhardt is running third, Benny Parsons is 4th, and Neil Bonnett is 5th right now. And Dale Earnhardt is gaining some ground off of Benny Parsons. He is really flying out there as he heads through turn 2. The leaders are a bit in front of him. Harry Gant and Tim Richmond is there down on the back straightaway now.
Tim Richmond's car is just so very strong on the front, on the straightaway, the back stretch or the front straightaway, but in the corners his car slips up very, very high. And now Richmond trying to hold the car down on the inside as Gant's car slips and slides. Harry Gant slipping and sliding in turn 4, gets the car straightened back out, and he really, the drivers are talking about how slippery that turn 4 is going to be here today, and both Gant and Bodine were slipping there. Probably Gant and Richmond were slipping in turn 4 that time.
We saw Richmond twice almost come in contact with the wall in turn 4, where his car slipped up a groove on the racetrack, and he almost brushed him in contact with the wall.
We have a note that Darrell Waltrip, as he came by, we were watching him, he had a hand out the window rubbing the roof of the car. Now that's a signal to his crew that there's a handling problem, and depending upon what their code is, the car may be too light or too loose, too tight or too loose, I should say, on the racetrack, and depending upon how they set it up before the race. And it also indicates to us that probably their radio system is out in the Waltrip pit and that they cannot talk to Jeff Hammond. And there's the Waltrip car as he's running apparently in the middle of the racetrack. He's being shown out of the top 10. The car has been slipping backwards in the field, and he certainly would like to have a good run. He needs to have a good finish here in Charlotte in order to stay in contention for that Winston Cup Point Championship.
Well, he does have his arm hanging out the window. We haven't talked a lot about the heat today, Jerry, but we're getting to this point in the race, and it is really hot. That's one way to try to get some air on you and get a little cool down there. I know down on pit road, it's got to be over 120, 130 degrees.
Well, they're trying to stay as cool as they can. The drivers, of course, wearing those cool suits. Those are vests and caps that they can wear that circulate ice water through a cooler inside the car. It's about a 45-pound ice cooler that sits inside the car that has a circulator that circulates that ice water through it. Now, it only lasts about 2.5 to 3 hours. When that water is gone and no longer cool, it's like you're inside a sauna bath in that race car.
I understand one time when it didn't work, they would circulate hot water through you, and that's certainly not what you want today. Benny Parsons, as we have mentioned, is having a great run today. He's running in 5th place right now. Let's go down to his pits on pit road.
We're talking with Cliff Champion, who is the crew chief for Benny Parsons. Benny's running rather well today. What's he telling you about the track at this time?
Well, right now the track's gotten a little slick. Off the corners, like on the throttle, our car's slipping a little bit too much. We're a little bit too loose to run with the leaders right now.
Will you have to make an adjustment in that on the next caution?
Yeah, we'll have to tighten the car just a little bit, probably with tire stagger on our next pit stop.
That's Cliff Champion talking about Benny Parsons' car right now, running 5th currently in the Oakwood Homes 500 field.
Jerry, I think it might be interesting. We've talked about tightening the car up with tire stagger to explain just what that really means, what they're going to do when they get Benny Parsons in the next time.
Well, they adjust the weight on the car, of course, with the screw jacks in the car, but the stagger is actually the difference in circumference between the tires. The tires are all made in a very familiar mold, but when the tires get hot, they grow to a certain circumference, and they measure those tires. They run them during the week, and they sort of they scuff those tires in. That's the terminology used for a tire that's been run and heated up one time. Once a tire is heated once and grows to a certain circumference, it usually will not grow anymore. They measure that tire, and they will take a piece of chalk and write on the tire how big the tire is. They measure the two tires. They may put a tire that's 3/4 of an inch smaller on the left side versus the right side of the rear of the car, and therefore there will be a little bit of an adjustment or stagger between those two tires, and that makes a difference in the handling of the car.
There you see the difference between Tim Richmond and Harry Gant. The car on your left is Richmond, the car on your right is Gant, and that's how much ground he has to make up to overtake the leader. Let's go down now to the Harry Gant pits.
Travis Carter is Harry Gant's crew chief, just looking over the wall here and doing the same thing you fellas upstairs are doing, timing the intervals between the two cars. And Travis, the way things are shaping up right now, there are a couple of cars wearing everybody out, and your guy's one of them.
Well, no, the tires are holding up good. We've made a couple of adjustments, seem to be running better, but we still, maybe just a tick off. It looks like we'll have to be just a little bit better to be able to beat these guys. Dale is running real strong, and of course, so is Tim.
What element is it off on? Is it a little loose? Is the car not handling just the way you'd like?
Everything's working pretty good right now.
Well, Travis Carter's not turning her back on you folks deliberately, but he was keeping an eye on Harry with the clocks working coming off turn number 4.
Well, while Eli was talking to Travis Carter, Harry Gant was probably trying to talk to him on the radio because he was sliding all over the racetrack, and his car slowed down considerably as that track, the slickness of the track is really showing up. Let's watch this, Jerry.
Well, keep an eye. We mentioned Harry Gant was sliding earlier in turn 4. Now the car is up high on the track. It gets slippery, gets loose. The rear of the car almost comes around, and Gant has the front tires turned hard to the right. He gathers it back in. The car is coming back across the track. He slows the car down and now has the car going back in one direction, but he is off the pace somewhat. You know he has to have spotted those tires or flattened the rubber off some of those rear tires when he was sliding, so he may look for him to make an unscheduled stop.
There is caution out on the racetrack, and that is certainly a good sign for Harry Gant because he will be one of many cars that will head down now on pit road, and some cars that were running about to get lapped, like Jeff Bodine and several others, now have a chance to come in and put on fresh rubber and make some changes. There is oil, we understand, now in turn 3, and so they will get the stay dry down on that and try to get back to green races as soon as possible. But for right now, there is caution out on the racetrack on lap 151. Tim Richmond, the leader. Dale Earnhardt has now moved into 2nd position. So Earnhardt's running 2nd. Richmond is the leader. Harry Gant still maintains 3rd place despite that slip and slide that we saw just a moment ago. And here come all these cars down on pit road. And now's where these pit stops really get crucial to get the right set of tires on when they come into for these pit stops.
There you see the split screen with Tim Richmond's crew servicing his car on the upper part of the screen. Dale Earnhardt, the 2nd place car, getting service from Richard Childress and Kirk Shelmarine and that crew. It will be a routine 4-tire change under this caution flag. These fellows now will get 4 fresh wheels, 4 fresh tires under those cars. As Gant also in the pits, a number of other cars pitting. You see the Richmond car now moving down and away. He's the first car to exit pit road. Good pit work for his crew. And Earnhardt also down, Neil Bonnett and the other leaders.
As you see them working on the Harry Gant car, it was an interesting story with Larry Pearson's car number 21. He came in, the car got turned back around facing the wrong way, so Larry had to make a kind of dangerous U-turn to get back out on the down on pit road, headed the right direction, but he did it. And we've really seen a lot of driving skill here in the last couple of laps with Harry Gant and several others, because when that car is out on a slick racetrack like they are right now, and the car gets loose a little bit, starts sliding, that's when a driver's skill really comes into play.
It really does. And experience is so very, very important, that not to overcorrect the car, not to turn the car directly in the wrong direction and have the car spin the other way and come up across the track in front of other traffic and tap the wall. Here is the Budweiser Chevrolet for Darrell Waltrip as they will come in. That man leaning in the window, that's one of the crew member who is changing the wedge. You see his left arm moving back and forth. He is jacking weight in the right rear of that car as they have now made a 2-tire change, and they will go Pete Wright and the crew going around Mike Hill changing tires and jacking that left side of the car up as they will get ready to go back to green here very shortly.
Jacking that wedge, as you call it, is not near as easy as it used to be. You used to just see him stick an arm in there and turn a few screws, but now they practically have to put the whole body inside the car.
Well, they've changed the direction of the wedge bolts where they are in the back of the car. Those bolts really are simply pressure plates that push up and down on the springs in the rear of the car and puts different weight over different springs. If you're familiar with how a car operates, those springs are really what gives the car its weight distribution over each tire. So they are changing the weight pressure over each spring with those wedge bolts.
154 laps are complete. Tim Richmond is the leader. Dale Earnhardt has made up a lot of ground. He's in second place, and he has his sights set on Richmond. Welcome back to the Oakwood Homes 500. Mike Hogwood here along with Jerry Punch. We are about set to go back to green flag racing. Tim Richmond is on the lead, and can he hold off Dale Earnhardt?
I tell you, the way Earnhardt's been charging, he made those 2 laps up and came back and had a 4-tire change in most of the field under this caution. We'll see who got the best set of tires. I should say the best matched set of tires as far as stagger is concerned, as the safety car now pulls off, and Tim Richmond will lead the charge and see if he can hold off Earnhardt.
Well, he works his car up through the gearbox now as he stands on the throttle. The crowd stands on their feet, and Richmond gets a good jump on Dale Earnhardt heading into turn 1. Rusty Wallace, you see there in car 27, he is a lap down. He is not contending for the lead. He is running strong at the moment, though, so he's trying to get his lap back and he's sandwiched in between Earnhardt and Richmond. Earnhardt is running in second place. Neil Bonnett is making a strong bid for third place away from Jeff Bodine. And Bodine pulls away from him in the middle of the turn, and Neil Bonnett has to settle for fourth. And now here comes Jeff Bodine to challenge Dale Earnhardt as they head into turn 1. And Bodine seems to have gotten a good set of tires on in that last pit stop.
They have gotten Bodine's car dialed in, but Earnhardt really pulling away. There's the Bodine car and Rusty Wallace, the lap car, as that is the third place car of Jeff Bodine. But now Dale Earnhardt getting his car wound up. He's in second place in front of Bodine. There you see the separation there. It is Tim Richmond, the leader. Richmond is pulled away to some 8 car lengths over Earnhardt, and Richmond cuts the car hard left across out of turn 4. He may have scraped that 4th turn wall, and he runs the car right out against the wall and cuts it down. There's Tommy Ellis' car number 18 slowing down. Former late model sportsman, national champion for NASCAR, Tommy Ellis out of Richmond, Virginia, not having his best day here at Charlotte.
And Eddie Bierschwell down on pit road as well. He's also having an unscheduled pit stop as Ellis makes his way around. Watch Richmond this time coming out of turn 4, how close he comes to the wall. He really comes just inches away before he ducks down. That time he didn't get near as close, but he has several times brought some dust up from that wall, and he has almost come close to disaster. But that's what you call living on the edge, and that is a good race driver, as Dale Earnhardt is now pulled up on the bumper of Tim Richmond. They head out of turn 2 down the back straightaway, and Richmond seems to have a little more muscle on the straightaways, and Earnhardt's able to catch him up a little bit in the corners.
And Earnhardt really running strong. You know, we're only about 6 laps away from another one of those $10,000 bonus laps, and Earnhardt will make a move on the inside out of turn 4. Richmond trying to hold him off, but Earnhardt will go dirt track and just down on the bottom of the racetrack. They're door to door as they cross the stripe. Looks like Earnhardt may have an advantage over Richmond in turn 1.
Well, Earnhardt's been able to pull away as they come into these turns here, and Earnhardt coming out of turn 2 is about 1 car length now ahead of Tim Richmond. Richmond will duck in behind him now, and Dale Earnhardt is now back in the lead of this race. It's been a long time and a long, hard fight to get back up there, but Dale Earnhardt in car number 3, the Winston Cup points leader, is now the leader of the Oakwood Homes 500.
We're 5 laps away from halfway, and we're 5 laps away from $10,000 for Dale Earnhardt. But Earnhardt is not getting much breathing room for Tim Richmond. Earnhardt riding on the bottom of the racetrack. What a super job he's done making up 2 laps.
Tim Richmond has now slipped back just another couple of car lengths. Let's go down now to the Dale Earnhardt pits. What a great run today for Dale.
Well, they have afforded themselves maybe a smile or two, but still everybody talking now on the radios with Dale Earnhardt, trying to establish what to do next, because as we've said, he's come back from a couple of laps down. Richard Childress, the team owner, again propping himself up, but as you can see, the emotion is not particularly overwhelming. They know they're back at the point. They've made up a couple of laps, but they're still, as you've said, fellas, better than a half of a race to go.
We might tell the people that Earnhardt last led on lap number 22 through 36. So it's been a while. It's been over 130 laps since he led here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He had 2 unscheduled stops, as we heard Eli mention. He stopped on lap number 37 and lap number 47 when he ran over something on the racetrack and cut those tires down. He has made up 2 laps. He is back in the lead, I should say, here at Charlotte. What a day he's had.
It has been a great day for the driver from Kannapolis. There is Bill Elliott, who has not had a great day. We're looking at Bill from our in-car camera. That's the Kodak car of Rick Wilson in car number 4. And Rick carrying our camera on board, giving us some great shots as he tries to go down low on Bill Elliott. And this is what it looks like to try to pass Awesome Bill as we take a look through the safety net and get a glimpse of Bill Elliott there. You also see some of the sheet metal damage on that number 9 car. And Rick Wilson, who is literally door handle to door handle with Bill Elliott, and Elliott's giving him a pretty good fight around that racetrack, and Elliott doesn't want to give up position on the racetrack.
Well, Rick Wilson has had a pretty good run. The last 4 or 5 races, they have had some super runs in that Kodak car, and they've changed engine builders. They now have Mike Fryer building engines in that car number 4. You see now he's battling with one of the rookie drivers, Alan Kulwicki. We mentioned that Kulwicki's in the car that Cale Yarborough won this race in a year ago, a car that was purchased by a Kentucky businessman, and now he is sliding by. There's Kulwicki. That is Larry Coleman, who owns the car, and now the car number 4, Wilson trying to get by on the inside of Kulwicki.
And that's the money lap right there. We are halfway through the Oakwood Homes 500. We're on the halfway lap right now, and Dale Earnhardt is your leader halfway through this race. Tim Richmond is running second in it. 16 cars remain on the lead lap in this race. That's a good number. We still have a lot of good racing to go in the second half of this race. And Jerry, I really think the best racing is yet to come.
Oh, I think so. They're battling back in the pack, and there's Richard Childress, the car owner for Dale Earnhardt. He's got to be pretty pleased knowing his driver has not only tried to defend his point lead, he has made up 2 laps at Charlotte, picked up $10,000 in cash for leading lap 167, and now he's probably said, okay, Dale, we've got our 10 grand. You can back off a little bit and not push the car quite so hard. But I don't think Earnhardt's going to back off too much because he knows Tim Richmond in that Folgers car is right on his rear deck.
Well, they have quite a battle going right now. Tim Richmond's doing everything he can to get around him. It's Richmond who is going up high on the racetrack now as they exit turn 4. And Richmond way up against the wall. And Tim Richmond can't get within around Dale Earnhardt right now. And it's Jeff Bodine who's running 3rd, Neil Bonnett 4th, and Buddy Baker in car number 88 is running 5th. Unscheduled pit stop now for Benny Parsons down on pit road. And the hood's going to go up on the car. That's not a good sign.
No, they go beneath the hood. Leo Jackson and Cliff Champion and the crew. Benny Parsons, they said, has not had a good year. He has been trying to come back. He's had some great runs. This car he has here ran so well at Michigan, but it's back at Atlanta in the Motorcraft 500 back in March of 1984 when he picked up his last Winston Cup win. And looks like he will not get a win today as they are on pit road. And slowly they put the hood down, and apparently they will signal the day is over for Benny Parsons.
Well, the last time Benny Parsons won, he led at the halfway point, and he was the last leader at the halfway point who ended up winning the race. Well, maybe there will be one today, some 9 races later. Dale Earnhardt has led at the halfway point. 170 laps are on the board.
We can see Jeff Bodine now entering the picture. He and Neil Bonnett are both beginning to reel in the Earnhardt car as now Tim Richmond makes a move on Earnhardt, and he will return the favor as he slides by Earnhardt here in the tri-oval, or the quad oval, a double dog leg at the front straightaway here at Charlotte. And out in turn 1, Richmond is on the bottom, but Earnhardt battling back on the outside still holds on.
Well, that battle has enabled Jeff Bodine and Neil Bonnett to catch up to that front pack of 4 cars there. And you see on the outside again, that is Earnhardt down low. It is Richmond. Some great racing as they head into turns 3 and 4 here at Charlotte. And Earnhardt running a very, very high line. It's been Tim Richmond who's wanted to run up high all day, but now it's Earnhardt, who is up high, and Richmond down low is still able to maintain enough speed to run side by side with the leader, and it is Tim Richmond who kind of sticks that nose out in front from time to time, but Dale Earnhardt's giving him all he wants and then some. Great battle for the lead here.
Jeff Bodine sitting back here. He's got to be careful. He knows that Neil Bonnett has a shot on the inside of him, and now Bonnett takes that shot on the inside as lap traffic now. That's the Buddy Arrington car they're going by in turn 3. Jimmy Means' car up in the middle groove as Earnhardt slides high. They go back single file. It'll be Earnhardt, Richmond, Bodine, and Neil Bonnett, 1 through 4.
Well, lap traffic is often an advantage for the leader because you can race as much and everybody kind of tucks back in. But now that they pass that lap traffic, you see them ducking low and high again. We're still seeing some of that tire smoke from Jeff Bodine's car. That has been there for a while. And a couple car length lead now for Dale Earnhardt. Tim Richmond, for the moment, content to sit back in second place, but he's a hard charger, and whenever he feels he has any kind of shot to take that lead, he's going to do it, as he does now, coming down low on the racetrack.
And Tim Richmond again tries to make a move, but Earnhardt, using that high groove, has been awfully successful here. Richmond cannot get by him here on the front stretch, and they're groove hunting right now. They're looking for a good place to run on the racetrack as Richmond now moves down to the inside in turn 1.
Richmond has seemed to like that high line today, and Earnhardt's forcing him to run down low. What kind of effect does that have on Tim? He's not used to running down there. Hasn't been running down there today.
Well, they have the car dialed a little bit in closer now, and Richmond's car was slipping a little bit over in turn 3. Last lap or two, you see Richmond's rear of the car just bobbling a little bit, and that does not give him the bite he needs to get off of turn 4. You see Earnhardt now pulls him a half a car length, but Richmond comes back in the middle of the straightaway and gets that half a car length back.
Well, it's Tim Richmond who sticks his nose out in front and is going to try to keep it there for a moment, but this race far from over. Those two will be dicing it back and forth all afternoon long. And don't forget about Jeff Bodine, as you see back there, car number 5, lurking in the wings. And Richmond and Earnhardt running dangerously close side by side. It's typical of Winston Cup racing. These guys really have good control of their machines. And now they come out of turn 4 as they're headed down on pit road. It's Bobby Hillen Jr. who was involved in an accident on the front straightaway and has a lot of the sheet metal cut off of his car, and he is back down for service on pit road.
Well, we got a 4-car battle up front now as Neil Bonnett is pulling the inside of Jeff Bodine, and Bonnett, watching this battle, has probably said, okay, enough is enough. He pulls up in line just in front of Jeff Bodine. No, Bodine goes to the outside of Neil Bonnett over on the back straightaway, and Bodine's car is just so strong in the straightaways, but now you see Jeff Bodine's car drifting up very high in the corners. Bonnett's car working on the bottom of the racetrack. He has the advantage out of the turn.
Neil Bonnett, the only member of the Alabama gang that remains in today's race. Davey Allison won't be competing until next year. Donnie Allison still looking for a ride to get back on this circuit. Bobby Allison was knocked out of the race very, very early today. And Neil Bonnett, carrying Alabama's hopes, is running in the top 4 positions right now. Slips down in behind Jeff Bodine. Dale Earnhardt is leading the race. Tim Richmond is second. 177 laps are complete here at Charlotte. And Benny Parsons has had to pull his car back behind the wall. He's down in the garage area. I believe we've caught up with Benny now.
Benny, it's a pretty good run for you today. What happened?
Well, it was a pretty good run. The shock bracket broke out of the frame on the right front, and I just couldn't drive the car. It started bouncing so badly I couldn't drive it, so I parked it.
You were making up some good ground. You were running with the leaders in the top 5 at one time, 5th place for a good time.
Yeah, the car was good. We felt like yesterday we was in trouble, but the car was pretty good shape.
Earnhardt's run well, Richmond's run well. Who's got the best car coming down the finish? Who's got the most?
Well, it looks like Earnhardt does because he's made up 2 laps, so he's strong.
Benny, tough luck. Congratulations on a fine run today just the same. I know it's better for you than it was 2 years ago when you had the pole here. Benny Parsons out for the day here at Charlotte.
Well, it was indeed a good run for Benny Parsons, former taxi driver, and now a broadcaster and part-time racer. And just announced this week that he and his brother, Bill Parsons, will share a ride next year. And then when one races, the other one won't, and they will both be driving that car number 55.
Well, I know Benny has been sort of a part-time competitor. He loves to race. He enjoys racing in a competitive ride, but he will not have a good run today. He is parked in the garage area.
Well, Tim Richmond and Dale Earnhardt are still fighting for the lead. Earnhardt has taken it back away from Tim Richmond, but Tim is chasing him back. Back at Charlotte, Mike Hogwood along with Jerry Punch, and you see Rick Wilson being pushed backwards. That's not the way you want to go here at Charlotte, and the car is not under power. It's our in-camera car, as you see, and it looks like the day might be over for Rick Wilson.
Well, they had a good run going. In fact, they had just cracked the top 10. We're being shown in 10th place overall in the standings, and they had that unscheduled pit stop, and now the Kodak Oldsmobile will go back behind the wall and head for the garage area. You see him hanging up the goggles. That indicates the day is over for Rick Wilson. They had such a good run here. They had some other good runs this year. They had a good run at Daytona and were super run at Talladega, running second with a few laps to go. And they were hoping to maybe have a top 5 finish today in the Kodak car, the Morgan McClure car, but they will have to wait maybe for Atlanta a few weeks later.
But he sure gave us some great pictures and a real feeling of what it's like to drive this car around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Here's the battle for the lead, and across the start-finish line they come, and that's Dale Earnhardt and Tim Richmond. Earnhardt in 3, Tim Richmond in car 25. They have diced it back and forth all afternoon. How much does this take out of a driver instead of the single file racing that we've seen so much when they're really out there battling lap after lap after lap for first place?
Well, I tell you, they have to concentrate every lap, and actually a lot of drivers say they would rather battle someone and be able to concentrate with them, keep their concentration by staying in a battle. If you're just out there by yourself and running all alone, sometimes you lose your concentration. You begin to wander, your mind will wander away a little bit, and that staying close with another car helps you maintain the concentration you need to run the 160 plus miles an hour all afternoon.
Buddy Baker has had a great run today. He's running 7th right now. Let's go down to pit road to the Buddy Baker pit.
And we are down here with Doug Richard, who's a crew chief for Buddy Baker. A fine run for Buddy this afternoon. What's he telling you about the conditions on the track right now?
Well, it's a loose condition right now up off the corner, and it's hurting us a pretty good little bit. Where he managed to stay about 5-6 seconds behind the leader, and fighting the quantity of tires that we've got. So we may have to go to some scuffs to save those good new ones for the end.
Will you take an opportunity to maybe scan pit road to see if anybody else can help you out on tires?
Well, we've been doing that all day, and we've had a couple of teams help us out with a couple of sets. Hopefully I can get some good new tires, and we'll have them all ready for the end.
Buddy Baker at his home track with the Crisco car of Baker Shift Racing, running very well here right now this afternoon in 6th position.
Well, indeed he is, and there is Buddy Baker in the Crisco Oldsmobile having a fine run. 7th position he is right now. Let's take a look back up front towards the lead, and there are 2 drivers, Earnhardt and Richmond again. It's Dale who is out front as they go around lap traffic. That's car 52 of Jimmy Means. Rick Wilson, we showed you just a moment ago, rolled his car down on pit road back into the garage, and we caught up with him now in the garage area.
Rick Wilson, you guys are running 10th. It was a super run all day. What finally put you out?
Well, I think we dropped a cylinder or something happened to the motor. The Kodak Oldsmobile run so good all day long. We were just sitting back there, not getting in a lot of traffic, just biding our time and waiting. And something happened to the motor. Might have dropped the valve or whatever, but it run good.
Here we are, just a handful of races from the end of the season. This team has probably come further since the start of the year than anyone else has on the Winston Cup Tour.
It sure has. I tell you, a lot of things happened to us this year, and the only thing can be better is a better year next year.
Rick Wilson of Bartow, Florida, still all hooked up to the cool suit, but as you can see, it's a warm day for him nonetheless.
Well, it's a warm day for those two. Earnhardt and Richmond, we've called their names all day long, and boy, they have provided some great racing for the fans here today. Now estimated by the North Carolina Highway Patrol at some 136,000 people here. So a great crowd, but that's typical of Charlotte. They really love to come to this racetrack and watch what has turned out to be some great racing.
And Mike, we may want to update the fans on the fact that Chet Phillip, we saw his accident early in the race. His car number 91 that came into contact with that 10 or 12 car melee out of turn 2. He has been taken to the infield care center here for a knee injury, was transported to the Cabarrus County Hospital in nearby Concord, North Carolina for further x-rays. And otherwise, his injuries were fairly minimal. He climbed, was able to get out of the car with assistance, and apparently the knee injury is the only injury. That's good to hear, that even though he got a knee banged up over there with the way the car hit, it could have been a lot worse.
And Dale Earnhardt looks like he's almost in the wall coming out of turn 2. Earnhardt really got out of shape, and Dale had to back way out of the throttle and loses a lot of ground to Tim Richmond. When they come by down on the front straightaway, we'll try to get a glimpse and see if there was any sheet metal damage on the car, as Earnhardt did indeed graze the wall up coming out of turn 2. And it looks like there's a little scrape on the car, but it basically is okay, Jerry Punch.
Well, the crew members down on the pits are in radio contact with Earnhardt, and they don't seem to be very excited. So apparently he just felt maybe he got the car a little bit out of line and let the car slip up on the racetrack. You know, they've been running quite a while on these tires, and tires will begin to get a little bit slippery, a little slick out there. But most importantly, I think the biggest damage from that sliding was the fact that he lost some 12 car lengths to Tim Richmond. You see the separation there in turn 4. Richmond coming up on slower traffic. That's the sort of mangled car of Joe Ruttman he is sliding by there. But Earnhardt is some 12 to 15 car lengths back.
Ruttman's car looks like a modified racer out there. Let's take a look now and see just what happened to Dale Earnhardt. Here it is.
Well, they're getting awfully close here as Earnhardt's car. Now they're coming through the tri-oval area here on the front stretch. Earnhardt on the outside, Richmond on the inside. They're battling for the lead here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And we'll watch Earnhardt's car going way up across the racetrack as Richmond now using the bottom groove. Earnhardt just getting up close to the concrete retaining wall, having to get out of the throttle. The car starting to slip and slide. You see him backing down to get the car back under control, and that's the problem he had. Looks like he didn't hit. If he did hit, he hit very, very lightly over in turn 2.
Well, it's tough for us to see from over here in the straightaway if he did get into it at all, but it doesn't appear that he did. There is not any sheet metal damage at all apparent on the right side of that car, so apparently things are still okay for Tim Richmond, who is getting ready to put another lap down on Kyle Petty, who has had his share of problems today. Here's the way they stack up now. After 194 laps, we run 334 here in the Oakwood Homes 500. Dale Earnhardt is second, Harry Gant is third, Neil Bonnett fourth, and Jeff Bodine in car 5 is running fifth. Those are all veteran Winston Cup drivers, and all probably feel they have a chance at victory here today, plus a number of others in the top 10, like Ricky Rudd and Buddy Baker.
Phil Parsons is up there.
Phil Parsons also up there in the top 10. So a number of drivers probably feel they still have a shot here in victory today. We still have a ways to go to make up the 500 miles of the Oakwood Homes 500.
Well, Phil Parsons is being shown back in 7th position, just behind Buddy Baker, who's in 6th spot. And you got to give Phil Parsons a call. You know, the 29-year-old driver, younger brother of Benny Parsons, has not had a good year. His best finish this year was a 5th at Talladega in the Winston 500. It's his 4th year on the Winston Cup Tour, and he's having probably the best run he's ever had here at Charlotte Motor Speedway in that car number 66. There's Phil Parsons going around the Ron Bouchard car. He is currently being shown in 7th position, about 4, maybe make it about 8 car lengths behind Buddy Baker. Now Baker has won here. There's a look at Phil Parsons. He ran a lot of the Busch Grand National Series races for a number of years prior to coming on the Winston Cup Trail. As you heard us mention earlier, it was announced today by his sponsors that next year he and bigger brother Benny Parsons, we should say older brother Benny Parsons, will be sharing a ride for that one team, the Leo and Richard Jackson brothers team.
Well, the best finish so far this year for Phil Parsons has been a 5th place finish at Talladega. He is not up to 5th place yet, but he's running in the top 10 and running very, very well. We're almost to the 200 lap mark here at Charlotte. And again, we run 334. Richmond is the leader. Now remember, he set all kinds of records this week, sitting on the pole and with that fast lap over 169 miles an hour. Ricky Rudd's another driver who's had a pretty good run today. Rudd is running right now in 9th position. And let's go down to his pits on pit road.
Scoring stand belongs to Linda Rudd, the lovely wife of Ricky Rudd, who currently, as Mike just mentioned, running in 9th position. Linda, what's your job on race day?
Well, I have to keep an accurate set of pit laps for Bud Moore and the crew. What that does is every time Ricky comes into pits, I'll write down how many tires he changed and if they put weights in the car, and then also I keep laps for every time it goes by so they can know how fast he's running out there.
Is there any time when you'd like to be on the radio with your husband out there during the race?
No, I don't think I'd like to hear the language that goes on back and forth.
Linda, thank you very much, and best of luck to you and Ricky this season.
Thank you.
She's running 9th, and she's keeping track of it down here in the pits.
It might get a little spicy at times.
I think they use some different terminology, yes. You know, I remember one driver telling me, he said, you know, when I'm out there sometimes, in order to get myself pumped up, I begin to yell, just scream into the headset radio that I'm wearing. And for one thing, it gets everybody on pit road's attention. that I'm awake in the race car. It also gets me pumped up a little bit. So everyone has a little bit different philosophy. You know, we mentioned Earnhardt doesn't talk very much. He's sort of an type guy on the radio, and unless there's a problem, he really doesn't communicate with his crew. He sits there and drives the car and does his communicating with his steering wheel and his right foot.
Some guys sing when they're in the cars. Other guys hum with the sound of the motors like Cale Yarborough does, and everybody has their own thing inside the car. Let's go back down the pit road now at Eli Gold.
You know, a lot of people say that life is nothing but a series of transitions. This man standing behind me or beside me has seen those share. From Victoria, British Columbia on to North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. From Winston Cup crew chief to Busch Series driver, Larry Pollard is standing with us. How in the world did a guy from Victoria, BC make his way to the Deep South for racing?
Well, Eli, it's probably just the love of racing. It's been in my heart for a long time, of course, and it's been in our family. And if you want to race stock cars, the Southeast is exactly where you got to go. And 5 years ago, I had my break and got to work with Richard Childress' crew for Ricky Rudd. And from there, it's just kept going. And last year, we decided to do a little bit of racing ourselves and put me back behind the wheel. And now, after this year, is our second year doing it, and now we're looking for a third year next year.
What's the chances of us seeing you out in the Winston Cup Series after what has been a particularly good year on the Busch Series?
Well, it has. It's been off and on for us, but we still satisfied in to the point that we're starting to run better. But watching these guys out here today is where I want to be, and you can learn a lot by sitting here and watching right now.
A former Richard Petty crew chief, now trying to be out there battling with the king of stock car racing, Larry Pollard.
That is an interesting story, and Larry has performed well on that Busch Grand National circuit. And I did a story one time. They let me be on a pit crew, and the crew I was on was the Richard Childress crew, and Larry Pollard was my boss, taught me everything to do on pit road. He really knows this business of racing from one end to the other.
Well, what they didn't mention was he's Harry Gant's son-in-law. He's married to Harry's daughter, and certainly that's a good place to be if you want to get involved in racing. Be involved with someone like Harry Gant. What a competitor he is.
Not bad at all. 206 laps are complete. Let's take a look at Joe Ruttman's car. And
I tell you, that looks like one of those New England modified open wheel racers. That car was involved. That's the Quaker State car owned by Kenny Bernstein that was involved in that early lap crash. And Larry McReynolds and the crew have done a tremendous job to get that car even patched together to put it back on the racetrack. That's Joe Ruttman. He's been the most consistent driver in the last 4 races. He's had 4 top 10 finishes consecutively. He's had 2 second place finishes this year on the circuit, and he's been announced that he will no longer be in that ride. In fact, he is searching for a team for 87, and he has had 7 different rides on the Winston Cup Tour since 1981, and nothing reflecting on Joe Ruttman. He's a great race car driver, a super driver as a matter of fact, but they're going to put Morgan Shepherd in the car for 1987. They've already made the decision, but I tell you, you got a feel for the guy. He's out there with a car that's beaten and battered and mangled, and he's still trying to get a good finish for a car owner who's already fired him. He is really a dedicated young race driver. He's 42 years old, and Ruttman certainly would like to have a good finish here in Charlotte.
a lot of talk that Cliff Stewart of High Point, North Carolina is going to get back into racing next year, and that Joe Ruttman will be his driver. We'll have to see if that will come to pass before the end of this season. Tim Richmond is the leader right now, and you're taking a look at the Folgers coffee machine, car number 25. Behind him is Dale Earnhardt, who lost some ground when he slipped a little bit in turn 2. And right now, Richmond pretty much has this race well in hand on lap 208, but there's still plenty of action yet to come. And I'm sure we will see the field tighten up a bit before this one is over with. Harry Gant is starting to make some moves on Dale Earnhardt coming out of turn 4 now. Earnhardt still leads Harry Gant, but the separation has closed down quite a bit now. Only about a second separates those two, or less than a second, and about 3 or 4 car lengths. And Harry Gant has had a great run today. He has run strong all day long.
You know, Harry Gant is the kind of race driver that likes a handling racetrack. If the track really demands a lot of driver ability, if it's not a horsepower track like Talladega, but a track sort of like Darlington or like Charlotte that requires a lot of driver finesse, that's the track where Harry Gant seems to excel. And you're seeing it right now as Gant on the bottom of the racetrack trying to make a move, and is making a move inside. Doesn't quite have the horses to pull off turn 4 next to Earnhardt, but he's getting it done on the racetrack, particularly in the corners. Gant's car working well on the bottom of the racetrack.
Now let's go down to our new leader, Eli Gold, in the pits.
Well, I'll tell you, Mike Hogwood, a lot of folks watching this telecast today know exactly who is leading and who has led the race today. But right here, these 120,000 fans who may have trouble keeping up with the different race leaders have this little contraption to help out. It's the Winston Cup lap leader scoreboard and race leader scoreboard. As the day continues, those who lead the race have their numbers put up here on the board. It's right behind pit road, almost directly here at the start-finish line. Obviously, they didn't have my car number available, so they just told me to come on up and stick my mug next to Tim Richmond's number, and I'll take my position on the lap leader scoreboard.
As always, Eli, you look good out front.
I tell you, that's right.
Tim Richmond is the leader, I guess, behind Eli Gold, and the lap leaderboard is posting Jeff Bodine as a car being in that second spot, and they are posting Dale Earnhardt as running third right now.
Well, we might mention we should be getting very, very close to green flag pit stops, Mike. The last green flag stop at 152, so they're about maybe half a dozen laps or so away from the next green flag stop.
Well, it is Dale Earnhardt who is running second now, Harry Gant third, and Neil Bonnett fourth. Let's take a look at the attrition board, and it is pretty lengthy. Benny Parsons, the last one to go out, as we told you, with a mechanical problem. Sterling Marlin went out of the race. Randy Baker went out early. Bobby Allison, one of the first cars to go out when he tagged the wall, when he cut down a tire. Richard Petty was involved in that accident on lap 84. Tommy Ellis is now out of the race. Also out, Rick Wilson, who carried our in-car camera today. A.J. Foyt, who was involved in that incident with Morgan Shepherd and Jeff Bodine. David Sotheby is out. Chet Phillip, Cale Yarborough, and Morgan Shepherd finally had to retire the car after coming in and trying to run it and keep it out on the racetrack. Was not able to do so. And so a number of cars have, a number of big names have gone by the wayside. 212 laps are complete. I think life is fun in the infield and life is hot on the racetrack. And Tim Richmond is your leader. We are back at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Green flag stops are the order of the day. These are important, Jerry Punch.
They're very important. You see Tim Richmond, the leader, getting his service. Should be a 2-tire change only for Richmond as they're cleaning the windshield, rolling those tires up. They are just sort of prizing some of the sheet metal away. There is the Wrangler car for Dale Earnhardt. One crew member in the car making a weight adjustment. There's Earnhardt sitting there on pit road behind that window, netting the car off the jacks. So it'll be a right side tire change for Earnhardt. Now it's a race down pit road, a drag race. And Tim Richmond, who has the car geared a little bit lower, able to beat Earnhardt off pit road.
Well, Earnhardt is out in front in green. He is still out in under green. He is about 2 seconds out in front of Dale Earnhardt. And Earnhardt winds his car up to speed now down along the back straightaway. You see the separation on your screen. The car on the far left is Tim Richmond, and the yellow and blue car on the right, that is Dale Earnhardt. They are first and second in this race here on lap 215. So pit stops under green, and we should be seeing some more pit stops by the leaders. Harry Gant is the leader right now, and Neil Bonnett is running second, but we should see everybody starting to pit here in just a little while.
They run about 60 laps under the green, so you would expect to see Gant to be making a pit stop here in the next 5 to 7 laps. His crew member is standing down there waiting to bring him in. Travis Carter, the crew chief, there in the pits waiting for Gant to make his move, but there is Harry Gant, the leader. We saw the pit strategy a little bit different. We mentioned on that pit stop that the Tim Richmond car took on left side tires, whereas the Earnhardt car took on right side tires. I would expect to see Gant come in and take on 2 right side tires. He flashes out of turn 4. And the Skull Bandit Chevrolet showing the way. They don't seem to be in any big hurry in the pit to bring Harry in. Maybe they're hoping he can run a few more laps, and maybe they'll get a yellow and get the pit under caution.
Well, if they did get a yellow, that would indeed be a break for Harry Gant. Buddy Baker has now moved up into the 4th spot on the Neil Bonnett car, not to get that too confused down there on pit road. Larry Pearson, another one of those cars down there with a scheduled pit stop right now. And the leaderboard is going to do quite a bit of shuffling right here, and will be really before we get all these green flag stops out of the way before we decide really who is the leader.
Now we know why Gant stayed out. We remember the big money laps. Well, lap 220 just 2 laps ago, that was a $10,000 lap, and of course Harry Gant would stay out there and get his $10,000 and then come in and make his pit stop. So that's exactly what he did. He played it smart, stayed out, and got his 10 grand. There's Larry Pearson finishing his pit stop making his way down pit road. Only the second Winston Cup start for that young driver, hoping maybe to run for Rookie of the Year, either in 87 or maybe 88 in the car that his dad has driven a couple times this year. His dad, David Pearson, of course, the 2-time national champion.
Well, Jeff Bodine is now being posted as the leader. Bodine still has a pit stop to make, and they are getting prepared down in the Bodine pits to bring him in. Tim Richmond is being posted in second place and Richmond will be the leader as soon as Bodine pits. Let's go down now to Eli Gold.
Well, one of the best seats here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway is atop this scaffold. The NASCAR official is here, along with NASCAR's photo finish camera. You know, today there have been so many money laps, and of course, as tight as the Winston Cup competition is week after week, what happens if the human eye just can't determine who has beaten whom to the line? Well, that's why this photo finish camera has been installed. Case in point, Pocono, Pennsylvania earlier this year, where just a matter of inches separated the top 2 or 3 competitors. This is what NASCAR uses as the backup to the human being. The photo finish camera, also of course used at horse racing and other sporting events. It's here at the start-finish line in the infield at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
And it has been used several times. I kind of hope we get to use it today. It'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, so here's Bodine in the pits. The Levi Garrett car coming in. He's the final leader to make a pit stop as Gary Nelson and the crew will go to work and change those right side tires. Add 2 tanks, 2 cans of fuel. The car holds 22 gallons. Pretty good stop, under 17 seconds for Bodine as he now moves down pit road. And that will shuffle the leaderboard once again. Again, having led quite a few laps. In fact, we're showing now 174 laps that Bodine ran on 1 tank of fuel. That's 111 miles. That's pretty good gas mileage. We knew Gary Nelson was awfully smart, the crew chief, but that's a pretty good stop for fuel.
It was a good stop for fuel, and it moves Tim Richmond back up into the lead, and Dale Earnhardt is now in second place as Bodine's stop will put him out of the lead. Harry Gant is really running strong, and Gant has now moved into second place. He has gotten around Dale Earnhardt, and it is Harry Gant now being posted who will be in second place, and Dale Earnhardt is in third. Bill Elliott, despite all his problems today, Jerry Punch, is being posted now as the 5th place car on the racetrack. Indeed, he is on the lead lap, and he was involved in sheet metal damage on both sides of his car, and has still maintained perseverance and is now running 5th.
Well, it speaks well for the fact that Ernie Elliott and Dan and the crew down there in the pits have worked hard to get the car dialed back in. He's been battered. He got in contact with the wall out of turn 2 earlier. He was involved in that crash with Bobby Hillen, in which he crumpled the sheet metal against the right front tire. We saw him blow a right front tire coming down pit road. They have since beaten and batted the sheet metal away from the tires. They have changed tires, and Elliott has continued to hammer away, and he's being shown now in 5th spot. There's Bill Elliott, set an all-time motorsports earnings record last year, over $2.4 million, 11 pole positions and 11 wins. That record may never be challenged, in fact, not for a few years yet on the Winston Cup Tour.
Well, they say that'll never happen again. As competitive as this circuit is, you win 2 or 3 races and you're really lucky. Well, down the back straightaway, the leader goes. That is Tim Richmond, passing some slower traffic, getting around Dave Marcus and Jimmy Means. And just a couple car lengths behind him is Harry Gant. And Gant doesn't quite run as high as Tim Richmond does. And here comes Harry Gant. He too will have to deal with the slower traffic. Only a second or 2 separates the 2 of them. And as they come through turns 1 and 2, Richmond now is trying to fight off Harry Gant. Gant is trying to give that car as much muscle as he possibly can to get up and make a race out of it. About 20-25 car lengths back is Dale Earnhardt, who is currently in the 3rd place car. Jeff Bodine is 4th, and as we said, Bill Elliott right now is running in 5th place.
Well, Gant has seen the page in this book many times before. He ran very well in this race a year ago. In fact, he led the most laps. So it was a dominant factor all afternoon until, boom, on lap 254, the engine let go, and he ended up in the garage area with a disappointing 24th place finish. So Harry knows that Charlotte can be very good to you. It can be very bad to you. In all the years he's been racing here, he has only had 1 victory, that coming in this race back in 1982. So he would like to get a win. In fact, you know, Tim Richmond has never won here at Charlotte. Richmond, the current leader, and you see the separation there between Richmond and Gant, some 12 car lengths back, as Richmond's best finish came in May of this year as he finished second. A pretty good second place run for Richmond as Dale Earnhardt won that race, the World 600.
Well, Richmond is your leader. Gant 2nd, Dale Earnhardt is 3rd. You might wonder where Darrell Waltrip is, who's running 2nd of the Winston Cup point standings right now. Well, Darrell Waltrip is currently running 10th, right behind Neil Bonnett. And so Darrell Waltrip certainly not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. He is still on the lead lap. Eli Gold is standing by down on pit road. Let's go down to it now.
We were just talking about Bill Elliott back in 5th spot. Ernie, you guys have worked your tails off today to get your brother back up there in contention.
Yeah, it tore the car up pretty bad. It's still not right. The car's still real tight, pushing pretty bad in the corners. We're trying to adjust it out of it, but we can't make, you know, it messed up the frame and there's nothing we can do.
How hard is he having to wrestle it to get it around here as well as he is?
Well, it's not all that bad because he's just trying to run a comfortable pace to where the car doesn't get out of shape. You know, and be careful and not get anybody else in trouble. You know, it's, you know, Richmond and Gann and Earnhardt are running so good. You know, with the car damaged, it'd be awfully difficult to, you know, to get up there and race with them. So we just want to stay out of trouble and not cause anybody else any problem.
Ernie Elliott, crew chief and brother of Bill Elliott, watching the Ford number 9 making its way around the speedway.
Well, a good run for Bill, and that's got to be awfully frustrating when you know your car's got damage to it and you have a shot, but you just don't have the strength left or quite the handling to get up there and compete with the leaders.
Well, I wouldn't count Bill Elliott out yet. From what I saw last year, I'll never give up on Bill Elliott until that final checkered flag falls. I think he's got a shot, and what he's gone through today is an indication of the fact that he is a competitor and he will not give up. We've seen that Harry Gann is still trying to close in on the Tim Richmond car, and another car up there trying to close in on Harry Gann is Dale Earnhardt.
Well, Earnhardt's trying to, I guess it's not really time for Dale to make his move yet. There are 100 laps left to go in this race, so Earnhardt is trying to hang in there within contention and get that car up towards the front. He's had a battle all day today. As we said, he was 2 laps down and used caution flags at just the right times to get back up in the lead lap, and you have to give him credit because he's a real tough guy and a tough driver and fought his way literally back up into the lead lap and now has a legitimate shot to battle for the win here today. Let's go back down to pit road now and Steve Martin.
We're down here on pit road along with Gary Nelson, who's a crew chief for Jeff Bodine's car. Back in 1983, Bobby Allison won a race down here by getting 73 laps to the gallon of gas. Right now, he's getting similar mileage with Jeff Bodine. What's the story? You're getting awfully good mileage here today, Gary.
Well, I've been noted to get good mileage before. I don't think we're doing anything exceptional today. If we have to later, I think we could stretch a few more laps out of it.
As you figure it out right now, you pulled him in on lap 224, add 72 laps to that, and all you need is one more stop before the finish.
Well, yeah, you know, this race always has some funny things happen right at the end. We really need to get a caution flag. We've got to adjust our toe out. Somebody bumped our wheel, and the wheels aren't both going in the same direction, the front tires. We've got to adjust that to be a contender to win.
That's Gary Nelson talking about Jeff Bodine's car. They've got the gas mileage figured out right. They've got the other problems figured out. They can be in the lead lap here soon.
Well, what Gary Nelson was saying was the toe out on the car, and that toe out had to come out when Bodine got involved with that wall over in turn 2 with the Morgan Shepherd incident.
And there are your leaders: Richmond, Gann, Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, and Bill Elliott. That's the top 5. Back at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Mike Oakwood along with Jerry Punch, and the Rick Hendrick-owned car of Tim Richmond is the leader still. Harry Gant's trying to chase him down along with Dale Earnhardt, and the other Rick Hendrick car, Jeff Bodine, is running 4th right now. And let's go down to pit road and to the owner of those 2 cars that Rick Hendrick is standing by down there.
Thank you, Mike. You know, a lot of guys you see down here on pit road all wear these Hendrick Motorsports shirts, but only one guy can really rightfully wear them, this man, Rick Hendrick. It's getting to be habit-forming, your cars out there battling for the lead again.
Well, it's a good feeling to see them run out front. I love it. You know, I like to run out there, and, you know, we just hope we can finish that way.
Did you ever expect that the success you're having here, the success of your Corvette on the IMSA Tour, did you believe it would come this quickly for you?
I really haven't. I really didn't. You know, we just work hard, and the guys have just done a super job, and we're going to enjoy it while we can because we know we can't stay there long.
And you wanted a 3rd race team for next year. Too bad you couldn't find a good driver.
That's right. Waddell's up there in the suite now saying he wish he had a driver. He's almost got a car ready.
Of course, Darrell Waltrip to drive the 3rd team car for Hendrick Motorsports next season. Good luck the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Rick Hendrick here on pit road in Charlotte.
Can you believe that, Mike, that they've got the teams that they've got put together with Bodine and Richmond, and next year they're going to have what many people are calling maybe the super team in Winston Cup racing, which will be Waddell Wilson, who for so long built engines for Cale Yarborough, and Darrell Waltrip, who's won 3 national titles and just won everything under Junior Johnson's tutelage for the past 5 or 6 years. those guys are going to be together for the third Hendrick team.
Well, let's take a look at the leaderboard now. That will be amazing. You will see 2 Hendrick cars on this leaderboard. Is the leader, Tim Richmond, and the 4th place car of Jeff Bodine. In between Harry Gant, Dale Earnhardt, and Bill Elliott. And as we've heard from our pit reporters, Jeff Bodine and Bill Elliott have problems with their cars, and both their crew chiefs don't think that they can be competitive and really have a realistic shot at winning this race. Although I know Gary Nelson wants to make some changes on the suspension on that car, which got damaged just a little bit, and then maybe it can be a contender. Phil Parsons has just gone a lap down to Tim Richmond. Also going a lap down was Darrell Waltrip, as Richmond is really now just beginning to pick the cars off one by one. We had trouble coming out of turn 4 down on the pit road now. That is Kenny Schrader in the Red Baron Pizza car number 90 Ford Thunderbird. And it looked like that maybe cut down a tire or got up against the wall, or
I think he blew the engine in the car.
Blew an engine?
A lot of smoke from beneath the car. He now brings the car slowly and makes that turn back to the garage area. Kenny Schrader, former super modified driver, open wheel modified driver from up in that area of Pennsylvania, now takes the Jenny Dunleavy car back to the garage.
Well, Kenny Schrader's calling it a day. There's a lot of smoke. And indeed, it did look like the engine just detonated on him coming out of turn 4. And that can be a dangerous situation, especially when those cars do that. They drop oil on the racetrack, and they must not have dropped oil because we don't see a caution. And certainly the NASCAR safety crews keep an eye out on that. And Tim Richmond not having many problems getting around this racetrack at all.
There's Tim Richmond, the leader, being shown, as Richmond still now showing a sizable advantage over Harry Gant. And Gant still trying to get his first victory. There's Gant coming by as we see Tim Richmond's car on the racetrack still running on the bottom groove. And Harry Hyde, as they have found something. Back in May when they came here, Richmond had not had an early part of the year. The first 9 races were not good for Tim Richmond and Harry Hyde. They had only 1 top 5 finish. Then when they came here, they said, we found something in this team, something that's going to make a difference. And when Richmond said that, I thought maybe he was just some wishful thinking, but that's not the case. Since that race in May, they have 6 wins, 4 second-place finishes, and a number of poles. They have been tremendously competitive for Rick Hendrick, and they feel confident about their run toward the Winston Cup Championship.
As we mentioned, Phil Parsons has had a great run today. He has just gone a lap down to the field. And let's go down now to his pits on pit road.
I'm talking with Richard Jackson, who's the crew chief for Phil Parsons. Even though he's a lap down, he's up among the top 10. He's in the 9th position. You've got to feel pretty good about the way that Phil's been running today.
Yes, this is the best race we've run at Charlotte. If we continue to run like this, it'll be Phil's best finish here.
You're getting pretty good gas mileage today. You say you can go 67 laps. How did you lose that lap earlier in the race?
We actually lost the lap on the racetrack. We're running slower than the leader. Tim Richmond's really flying.
Richard Jackson, Phil Parsons' crew chief, and let's go up pit road to Eli Gold, who's got Kenny Schrader by his side.
Unfortunately, we're with Kenny here in the garage area. The Red Baron Frozen Pizza Ford finally expiring for the day. You had a pretty good run going.
Eli, we did. I think we were up to 12th the last time we heard a rundown, and the car was working real good. We had 3 or more spots right within our grasp there, but the oil pressure had been fluctuating for the last 40 or 50 laps, and we'd hoping it'd go all day, and we were just talking about it when it let go.
A new crew chief coming on board, actually already with you for the time being, Bob Johnson.
Well, really, Bob's been with us for the last 4 races. We've had some motor troubles and that, but Eli, I think you could vouch for us that we have run a lot better the last 4 or 5 weeks, and we're looking for a better year in '87.
That's Ken Schrader out of it here today in Charlotte.
And tough luck for Kenny Schrader on the motor, but indeed he has really come on here in the latter part of this season and has been running well the last couple of weeks.
And I think Bob Johnson will help them a lot. He was a former crew chief of the Race Hill Farms team with Jack Beebe, and he had people like Jeff Bodine and Harry Gant and a few drivers who have come through his racing team and done pretty well. Looks like Tim Richmond starting to make some moves on some of the cars in the top 10 as Richmond sliding by Buddy Baker, who's a 7th place car.
Well, he just put the 8th place car, Ricky Rudd, in car 15 a lap down. Now he puts Buddy Baker a lap down. That leaves now only 6 cars remaining on the lead lap. And now Richmond will set his sights on Neil Bonnett. There is still quite a bit of different distance between Richmond and Neil Bonnett, but Bonnett is now the 6th place car. In 5th place is Bill Elliott, and Tim Richmond at the moment is really flying. And I think right now we would have to say that this is Tim Richmond's race.
Well, it is at this point in time, but you know, everything can change when they come in and make those pit stops, because they change the stagger, they put 4 fresh tires, and it's that matching of that set of tires that is so vitally important to a car running well here at Charlotte. Harry Hyde, who's a veteran crew chief for so many years, had the late Bobby Isaac as one of his top drivers. People like Buddy Baker have been there, and Hyde certainly knows what he's doing when it comes to matching tires. He may have the best shot he's ever had at putting a car in victory lane here for Tim Richmond.
Well, Tim Richmond will have to make, I guess by our calculations, at least one more pit stop before lap 334, which is how far they will run today. That will make up 500 miles. And so that last pit stop will be all important, whether it is on under caution or under green. Tim Richmond is your leader. These are the cars that are on the lead lap. Harry Gant, Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, Neil Bonnett is now in 5th position, and Bill Elliott is running 6th. 6 cars right now are on the lead lap. We are on lap 258. 334 will make up the Oakwood Homes 500. Well, Tim Richmond now looks like he's out for a Sunday afternoon ride. Is it now just a matter of hanging on and holding on to that car and keeping a smooth line around the racetrack?
Well, he's running the car up awfully high in the high groove. He's not using the engine up a lot. He just sort of takes the car in the corners and tries to make a nice, smooth transition into the corners and not use the car up. He doesn't want to slide the car and tear up a tire. He doesn't want to scrape the wall, as happens to a number of drivers earlier today. That can cost you a lot of valuable time. He's just trying to make some good, smooth, consistent laps. And what's happening is Harry Hyde is in the pits, timing each successive lap and calling those times out to Richmond. He's saying, okay, you picked up a 1/10 of a second that lap, and you know, in this lap you're 2/10 slower. And Richmond comes back and says, well, I was in lap traffic. That explains it. So they're watching for any change at all that would happen on the track for Tim Richmond.
There is about a 5-second separation now between Tim Richmond and Harry Gant, which is quite a distance on the racetrack. There was Richmond, and there is Harry Gant. So Harry has a little bit of ground to make up. Might be interesting for one of our pit reporters to go down now to the Tim Richmond pit and see if we can get a word with Harry Hyde. Talked about how he was saving that car for the end. Are they have they saved it up until now? Is he holding back for the finish? Is Tim Richmond really, the fact that he's flying out there, is he just trying to put as much distance on the rest of the field as possible? Whatever it is, Tim Richmond is owning this Oakwood Homes 500 right now. Matter of fact, he's owned it all week. Wednesday, qualifying day, he set some records out here that a lot of people thought would never happen here in Charlotte. But he had a great day, running 169 miles an hour on one lap and qualifying at over 167. He's flying now, and he leads the Oakwood Homes 500. Harry Gant, the rest of the field, are trying to catch Tim Richmond. Back here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, something has happened to Tim Richmond's car number 25. He had everything going his way, was dominating this race. All of a sudden, the car simply seems to have gone dead. He comes down on pit road. Steve Martin is in Tim Richmond's pit, and they've got to be befuddled down there.
Well, they certainly are, because they came in for gas on lap 219. They're going to check on the right side tires right now to put in some new gas, but they're way back on gas mileage. Harry Hyde now sticks his head into the cockpit. Looks like they might be going under the roof, and that is not good news for Tim Richmond, who led most of this Oakwood Homes 500. They've got his tire situation squared away, but there's lots of smoke coming from right underneath the air filter right now. They're going underneath the car. They're going to put it on the jack, and it is going to be a very costly pit stop here for Tim Richmond. There's lots of smoke coming out from under the hood.
Well, as in Winston Cup racing, anything can happen at any time. You have a race well under control. You seem to be dominating. A 5-second lead on the rest of the field as Tim Richmond had, and all of a sudden, boom, there it goes.
Well, that can happen. Of course, Harry Gant has had it happen to him a number of times, and now it's happened to Tim Richmond, and it's given Harry Gant the lead here. They put the hood down very slowly. That's Harry Hyde, the veteran crew chief, talking to a very disgusted Tim Richmond. You can see him sitting in the car there, and apparently, even though they're in the hunt for the Winston Cup Point Championship, they will not be able to continue here, at least for a while, as they're still working on that car. There's the leader, Harry Gant, from nearby Taylorsville, North Carolina. Gant, who is looking for his first win in 1986, has come so close, finishing second up in Michigan, and Richmond still sitting in the car, as apparently they have signaled he will get ready to apparently climb from the car. He makes that turn toward the garage area.
Boy, that is just a tough break for Tim Richmond. And you saw the look of utter disappointment on his face, as this has just been his week here at Charlotte. Everything has gone his way until the final laps are winding down. Tim Richmond now being pushed back to the garage area. We'll, of course, be visiting with Tim as soon as he climbs out of that car in just a few moments. But it opens things up for Harry Gant in the Hal Needham Burt Reynolds Skull Bandit. He has not won all year long. He has finished second in 2 races this year. But hard luck Harry Gant, as they have been calling it this year, has really not had things going his way. Has had several bad crashes this year and has had a lot of tough luck, some injuries, and nothing could really boost his spirits, I think, than to win this race here today in Charlotte.
And we'll take a look and see what happened to Tim Richmond. Apparently Richmond running flawlessly. We're concerned that the car was running almost too well for him, and a little puff of smoke coming from beneath the car. Right there, you saw it sort of plow from beneath the car, and apparently that was all it took. Something in the engine let go. Richmond going into turn 1. See, looks down and takes a look at the gauges and realizes it's over here at Charlotte as the car now begins to slow, and he pulls to the inside of the track coming out of turn 2. And you know what happened. He went to the garage area. It's over as Richmond will begin to climb out. And apparently any hope that he might have for a Winston Cup point battle may be over as Richmond climbs from the car. Let's go down to the garage area and Steve Martin.
I'm ready. He's just getting out of the car. Tim Richmond is just getting out of the car here in the garage area. Tim, a bitter disappointment. When did it go? How did you feel it as it went?
I was just up in 1 and 2, and the thing just started losing a little power and smoking a little bit, and I could feel it was starting to leave on me. So we come into pits to see, you know, if it was anything that we could possibly go back out with, but we couldn't. It was we lost a valve or a piston or something.
That's too bad, because it was quite a run for you. You had the field covered here today very easily.
Well, you know, the longer we ran, the better we got compared to everybody else, it seemed like. But anyway, you know, that's the way it goes. I was out front when he was leading. That's what counts.
Well, it was a disappointing run for you today, although a strong one, and this will set you back in the points race. But still, it's been a great year for you.
Oh yeah, it's been a fantastic year, and you know, yeah, I can't complain at all. We were out there and we're running all right, and we've run all right all year most of the time, and you know, there's still 3 more races left. I'm not the only one that can get bitten on the butt by this monkey.
This is Tim Richmond. He was our race leader for so long here this afternoon, out of the action today with engine problems.
And we've just seen Bill Elliott come down on pit road. That might have been a scheduled pit stop.
Well, there was a scheduled stop, but Elliott had a lot of trouble in the pits when they dropped it off the jack. The car stalled, and they had to push the car down pit road to get it refired. That cost him an extra 8 or 10 seconds, and the Bill Elliott Coors Ford is back on the track, as you can see. But he was being shown in the 5th position. That pit stop will push him back in the field. Of course, everyone will have to come in and pit. We're expecting to see a lot of people. The leader there, Harry Gant, coming in within the next 3 to 4 laps.
Well, Harry Gant, who is 10th in the point standings, is the leader, and the second place car is on pit road. That is Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt pulls his Wrangler machine to a stop. They will now look like they go to the left side and put left side tires on that car. Is that any bit of a surprise to you?
Well, not really. They've been changing back and forth, just closing up the stagger a little bit and making the car a little bit tighter. They put the best set of tires they have back on the race car right now. That should be the final scheduled stop for Earnhardt. He can make it the rest of the way on fuel. Should be no problem for him.
So the next leader to pit will have to be Harry Gant, and we see a lot of stirring around in the Harry Gant pit, as he will have to pit under green, and they are getting ready for him. Tires are up on the wall, and Harry Gant, you see out on the racetrack, will have to look and see if he ducks down this time. The pit board is out down on pit road. Harry, you saw him waving his arm there inside the car, probably signaling to another driver that he might be coming down or ducking down, but we'll have to see.
And Harry Gant makes that left-hand turn down pit road, and the money lap just 4 laps away for 10 grand, but Harry Gant coming in for his final pit stop. Let's go to the Gant pit and Steve Martin.
Well, money pit or not, necessities take over here in the Gant pit as Travis Carter and crew go to the left side tires first. Takes on some fresh gas here on lap 276 as they move through 15 seconds of this pit stop. Unfortunately, Gant had just pulled in the lead at the time. Car comes off the jacks and it's away in about 18 seconds.
That was a pretty quick pit stop for Harry Gant. A good stop for the crew as the car is down and away, and Gant is now bringing it back up to speed. And Jeff Bodine is now being posted as the leader, but again, they are stirring in the Bodine pit, and they will have to bring him in very shortly, too. Bodine's car is getting the best gas mileage of any of them out here, and Bodine is being posted as the leader, but he will have to come in shortly for one more stop.
Well, I believe Bodine may be able to hang on. If he can hang on for 4 more laps, that's a $10,000 lap coming up at lap 280. So we see a number of cars making a move. Here is Neil Bonnett, who was shown as a second-place car, making a move down pit road for his scheduled pit stop. That's the Jeff Bodine car now making a move under Ron Bouchard. And here's Neil Bonnett on pit road. Eli Gold standing by in the Budweiser pit.
He reaches the Budweiser Chevrolet to a halt. The crew quickly going to work on the left side of the car. They'll fuel it up. One tank of gasoline is in. The other can going in right now. Neil just keeping that car revved up, down. Off the jacks it comes. And at 15.25 seconds, quick pit stop for Neil Bonnett and the crew.
That was a great pit stop for Neil Bonnett's team there, and looks like he's headed for a good finish here in Charlotte today.
I tell you, Billy Ingalls and Tim Brewer and the crew have got to be awfully proud. That was a super stop down there, and I think that Neil Bonnett would like to go out a winner. This is his last year with Junior Johnson. They only have 3 more races. This one coming up, of course, at North Carolina Motor Speedway, then the Atlanta Journal race in Atlanta, then it ends up in Riverside, California in November. But he would like to win one if he could early on here in his last 3 events for Junior Johnson.
Here comes Jeff Bodine, headed down the front straightaway. We'll cross the start-finish line. This will be a money lap here of $10,000 for Bodine, as he is the leader, and I believe that with the $10,000 in hand that we'll see Bodine very soon begin to head his way down pit road.
And Gary Nelson has called Bodine in. Next time by, I believe Bodine will make that left-hand turn and head down pit road as the leader, and that should put Buddy Baker at the front of the field. Unless Baker would pit, we would expect to see Bodine make that turn, and he will be heading down pit road for Gary Nelson, some $10,000 richer. Here comes the yellow and white car number 5. Our pit reporter, Steve Martin, standing by.
All right, Gary Nelson brings the car in, and Jeff Bodine missed his pit. He'll have to go around one more time as a car cut underneath him, and the disappointment shows in the Jeff Bodine pit. Gary Nelson looks up in the air in disgust as a car got underneath Jeff Bodine as he was getting ready to pull into his pit.
That's Connie Saylor in car number 64, and a lapped car. Something like that happens, you really don't expect something like that to happen here in this sport. Let's take a look at it again.
And here's Bodine coming in. Saylor pulling out, and he's trying to get into his pits, and now Saylor staying right along beside Bodine. And Saylor, of course, a lap car, Bodine the leader, and he couldn't get by. And under NASCAR rules, you cannot back up pit road to get to your pits. And there's Gary Nelson, a frustrated crew chief. He said, what else could happen to us today? We've had so many problems, and the car is just not steering well. They mentioned they had the toe in. The front tires are not pointing in the right direction. And again, let's see if Jeff Bodine can get back on pit road. Steve Martin is still there.
Well, second attempt. Gary Nelson and the crew get out now, and they're going to go to the right side and try to get things squared away here on this pit stop. An unfortunate situation for Jeff Bodine, who got above a lap car in the pit, could not back up, as Jerry said. The gas is in, the right side tires are in, the crew coming away from servicing the car. Now they're going to do a 4-tire change as they go around to the left side of this situation. And this is costing Jeff Bodine costly time out on the racetrack. And unfortunately, because he was running very, very well at the time and getting great gas mileage and was pretty well set up for the end of the race. And now he's off. It's about a 27-second pit stop.
Well, they changed all 4 tires on the car, and I guess they figured you had to do anything just to keep him competitive out there.
Well, I think the reason they had to make a 4-tire change then was because when he came down pit road, he slammed the brakes on, trying to keep him getting into Connie Saylor, and then he jammed the car back into gear and spun the tires. That was the smoke we saw coming out of the car as he was trying to get back up to speed, and he literally balled it or took the rubber off the 4 tires. They had to come in and make that change. And I believe that Gary Nelson, the crew chief down there, may have some information for us on that stop. But Jeff Bodine certainly not having good luck today.
Well, Harry Gann and Dale Earnhardt are 1 and 2, and Jeff Bodine has slipped out of the top 5. Buddy Baker is running 3rd in car number 88. And then it is Darrell Waltrip and Neil Bonnett, 4th and 5th. Steve Martin is standing by down at the Jeff Bodine pits. I believe he's with Gary Nelson.
I do have Gary Nelson, and a very upset Gary Nelson. What happened in that situation when Jeff tried to pit?
Somebody pulled out of the pit in front of him. He had to lock up the brakes and caused him to miss our pit. We had to go around. We lost the lap. That's what we were fighting to try and save, to be in the lead lap. Now it's going to be extra hard to win.
Do you feel that cost you the race?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Do you feel that cost you the race?
No, you know, anything can happen. We feel like we had a lot better chance before that happened, but we'll see what we can do.
You feel it was inexperience on the other driver's part in that situation? Did you not see Jeff Collins?
Nah, he probably didn't look in his mirror, but, you know, two cars can't occupy the same space, and it's just probably bad luck that they both came. One was going out, one was coming in at exactly the same place on a pit road.
Unfortunate set of circumstances, and all too often that's happened to Jeff Bodine's car this year, despite the fact they've won 9 poles.
Well, indeed it was tough for Jeff Bodine, who has slipped back and, as Gary Nelson said, has now gone a lap down. That's what they were trying to keep from doing. Harry Gant is the leader, and he is still a couple of seconds ahead of Dale Earnhardt, but don't ever count Dale Earnhardt out of this. Harry Gant has been looking good all day today, but Dale Earnhardt still with a shot to win this Oakwood Homes 500. And now you see Harry Gant going around the lap car of Mike Waltrip. Waltrip, the brother of Darrell, contending for Rookie of the Year this year. And Gant has just shot around him. Waltrip having a pretty good run today. Michael Waltrip, that is. He's still out there. And as Mike Waltrip says, when you're a rookie, your goal is to just get out there and to finish as well as you possibly can. Let's take a look now at the difference between Gant and Earnhardt. There is Harry Gant, and here comes Dale Earnhardt right underneath our camera, as you saw there. And so there still is a couple of seconds. In your opinion, Jerry, has Dale got a shot to catch him?
I believe there's a lot of time left, and I think Earnhardt has a shot at catching him. Here's a third-place car, Buddy Baker in the pits, and Baker brings the Crisco Oldsmobile in, and there's Phil Parsons back in the pit. Parsons, who had been lapped a little bit earlier, but Baker having a great run, a Charlotte native. That's the car that ran so well at Daytona in July, had a chance to win, and he was involved in a crash with a few laps to go and got some sheet metal damage. Baker's crew, now Doug Reichert, the new crew chief for that car, just going on board about a month ago, has been with the Neil Bonnett team for about 1.5 or 2 years, a super young crew chief. He should make a difference for Buddy Baker.
Well, that was a quick pit stop for Buddy Baker. Did not save him from going down a lap, but it did help him gain some ground out on the racetrack. He was down a lap before he came in, and Buddy Baker is now still posted in the 3rd position. We'll have to wait for scoring to rule on exactly where Buddy Baker stands after that pit stop. But one thing we do know, Harry Gant is the leader, and Dale Earnhardt is running 2nd. And Dale seems to be gaining just a little bit of ground on him. We'll try to check the separation on those 2 cars for you next time around, and see who exactly is doing what as they come by on the front straightaway. But there you see on our wide shot there, the car to the left of your screen, that is Harry Gant, and the yellow car to the right, that is Dale Earnhardt. And here they come around the 4th turn, headed down the front straightaway on lap 287. Gant has crossed the start-finish line. Earnhardt is right behind him. It's a difference of 2.71 seconds. That's now the difference on Earnhardt and Harry Gant. And in racing, one little slip and 2 seconds can be made up in a hurry.
Well, we mentioned that Harry Gant had not won this year. He's been 0 for 25 in 86. In fact, his last victory stretches back to September of 85. He won at North Wilkesboro Speedway on a half-mile track there. That was his last win. Even though he has 2 poles this year, he doesn't have a victory. Back last year, he had 3 wins, including wins at Martinsville, Dover, and North Wilkesboro. But a win at Charlotte today would make up for a long season that Harry Gant, Travis Carter, and that Skoll team have had.
It really would. Let's take a look at the leaderboard now. Harry Gant, Dale Earnhardt 1 and 2. Darrell Waltrip is now 3rd. That's really going to help him in his quest to try to overtake Dale. But with Earnhardt still in front of him, that's got to be a moral victory right now for Earnhardt at least. And here comes Darrell down on pit road. Waltrip in for what should be a scheduled pit stop for the Budweiser crew, the car owned by Junior Johnson. And as you see, they are again going inside that car, making another chassis adjustment.
He'll be the last of the leaders to pit. Everyone else is pitted. You see Junior Johnson rolling a tire over to the left front for Mike Hill to put that left front tire on. They're finished. Good pit stop for the Budweiser crew, for Mike Hill and the crew. They have done an excellent job down there, 13.3 seconds, and that'll help Waltrip a lot on the racetrack. He had been having some trouble just not running as well as he would have liked, but a pretty good pit stop and may keep him in contention.
Well, there are now only 3 cars on the lead lap. Darrell Waltrip is a lap down. And after those round of pit stops under green, 3 cars on the lead lap are Harry Gant, Dale Earnhardt, and Neil Bonnett. Down 1 lap, Ricky Rudd and Darrell Waltrip. We'll be back with more racing and what should be an exciting finish in just a moment. Back at Charlotte, things don't look good for Darrell Waltrip. He has been showing some smoke out from underneath the number 11 car, and that's not a good sign at this time of the race, Jerry.
No, it's not, but he looks to be slowing a little bit. There's a lot of smoke still coming out of that car. You see it now down in the corners, and he's got to be on the radios with the crew chief, with Jeff Hammond and Junior Johnson down in the pits. We only see the smoke when they're in the corners, but that could be tire smoke. But he's still up to speed going into turn 1. And if he were to exit with Richmond already in the garage, if Waltrip were to go to the garage area, it would mean that Dale Earnhardt could just about pull out all the plugs and go ahead and run for the win, which I'm sure he's doing anyway, but would not have to be that concerned with the Winston Cup point title right now, because both of his nearest competitors would have gone to the garage area. Well,
the man who is on the move right now is Dale Earnhardt. He has made up almost 2 seconds off of Harry Gant in the last 10 laps or so. The separation last time we talked a moment ago was 2.7 seconds. It is now 0.7 seconds, the difference between Harry Gant and Dale Earnhardt. As you see them on our separation shot, it is much, much closer. And as they come through the corners, Earnhardt still gaining ground on Harry Gant. Coming out of turn 4 down the front straightaway, Earnhardt about in position to make a bid for the lead as they head into turn 1. Dale Earnhardt's beginning to really show some strength. He goes down low, and he's just going to blow by Harry Gant on lap 296. Dale Earnhardt retakes the lead. The crowd is going crazy down here on the front straightaway. Harry Gant falls back to second place, and what was a once comfortable lead for Harry Gant has completely evaporated. Your leader now is Dale Earnhardt. And Harry Gant is really loose. The rear of his car, just a lap or so ago up in turn 3 as he was trying to hold off the lead from Earnhardt, was just absolutely bobbing and weaving back and forth. And I'm sure Earnhardt can see how loose Gant's car was, and he has run him down from some 3 seconds back and now put that separation you see right there, some 12 car lengths, and continues to pull away from Harry Gant. Well, Earnhardt is just what I was going to say, Jerry. Is Earnhardt not only passed him, he's really starting to pull away from him now. And Earnhardt's beginning to build a lead of his own over the second place car of Harry Gant. Meanwhile, let's not forget about Neil Bonnett. He is the only other car remaining on the lead lap. There are 3 cars on the lead lap. The 4th place car is Ricky Rudd. He's a lap down. And 5th place is Buddy Baker. He also is a lap down at the moment. Dale Earnhardt out of Kannapolis, which is just up the road from here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, won the race here in Charlotte in the spring and said he'd like to do nothing better than come back and win this same race here. But really, for the points race, it would be totally demoralizing, or it'd have to be, for Waltrip and Richmond to have Earnhardt win this race here today, this late in the season. And you talk about omens, you know, the only time that Earnhardt has ever won this race, the Oakwood Homes 500, was back in 1980, and that's the year he went on to win the Winston Cup Point Championship. It was a great year for Dale Earnhardt, and he says winning a championship this year would mean probably more to him than the first one does, because now he knows exactly how hard and what everybody has to go through to get there. We are approaching lap 300. That will mean 34 laps left to go. Earnhardt the leader. Gant's trying to hang on, and Neil Bonnett is still on the lead lap trying to chase him down. Eli Gold is now in the scoring area somewhere down past pit road. Let's go down to Eli.
Mike, we're all the way out here, actually just coming off turn number 4. Another group of folks who may well have the best seat in the house. The gentleman in the center of your screen in the brown jacket is Morris Metcalf. He is the chief of NASCAR's timing and scoring. He's been at this job a long time. As a matter of fact, there's a rumor that back in the days of Ben-Hur and chariot racing, Morris was actually there to score that event. All of the teams here on the Winston Cup Tour have at least 1 and sometime 2 car scorers. They keep track of lap after lap after lap, and should there be a scoring discrepancy at the race's conclusion, they go back to the records being kept by all of these people under Morris's auspices, and then they determine exactly which car might have finished in which position. It's the scoring stand similar to this at every race on the Winston Cup Tour, where they keep track of who's running where.
That Morris Metcalf, he's one of the many characters behind the scenes of Winston Cup racing, without whom this sport would not be as great as it is. You know, Morris can actually score a 40-car race by himself. He has individual scorers down there to help him, but he knows where every single car is on the racetrack, and what a tremendously talented individual he is. Well, you may be wondering about Neil Bonnett, who is still on that lead lap, as Dale Earnhardt and Harry Gant are both within shouting distance of each other. But Neil Bonnett is some 29 seconds behind the leaders, and so even though he's on the lead lap, he still has a job to do to catch up to them. 3 cars on the lead lap, 2 others are a lap down. But at Charlotte, even as we approach the final 32 laps here, Jerry, you know, anything can and often does happen, and has happened late in the race. A lot of crazy things. Let's go down now to the Darrell Waltrip pits and Steve Martin.
We're in Darrell Waltrip's pit with Jeff Hammond, who's sitting beside Stevie Waltrip, Darrell's wife, who's scoring the race for Darrell. We saw some smoke from Darrell's car just a few moments ago. What was it?
What it was, in our earlier wreck in the day, we got the back end of the car hit pretty hard, and it's bent that rear quarter panel. And, excuse me, he was talking to me on the radio. And what happened was, the new tire we put on, the profile was just a little bit different from some of the others. It's a little bit fatter. Until it got hot, it was rubbing the quarter panel a little bit, but now that it's got grown in size and heat, it's, you know, cleared up, and it's going to be okay. It's nothing major.
No problem that'll take him out of the race.
No, nothing right now.
That's Jeff Hammond, crew chief for Darrell Waltrip. He himself wants to be a driver on the Butch Grand National Circuit sometime and may get in the action here in the next couple of years.
Well, that's interesting about Jeff Hammond. The leader is Dale Earnhardt. He has won 3 races this year. He won at Darlington, North Wilkesboro, and of course he won at Charlotte here the last time this circuit was here. And to win at any racetrack twice in 1 year is really pretty phenomenal, and is tough to do on this circuit. It's not easy.
It certainly is not, and the competition has been so intense this year on the Winston Cup Tour that I think any driver, you know, last year, that's what makes last year's performance by Bill Elliott so phenomenal, that 11-win season. And, you know, by winning today, if Earnhardt finishes in the top 4, which apparently he's going to do, barring any major problems, he will be only the 3rd driver in motorsports history to exceed $1 million in earnings for a single season. You know, last year, Elliott had $2.4 million. It was $1.3 million in earnings for Waltrip last year, and now it's standing at $975,000 in earnings thus far for the year. Dale Earnhardt, by winning today, would exceed that $1 million mark.
Well, Dale Earnhardt indeed has had quite a season, and his quest for his 2nd Winston Cup points championship. A lot of people said he was beginning to fade, beginning to fold just a bit. Darrell Waltrip was coming on. Tim Richmond was coming on. Well, Dale Earnhardt will quiet a lot of those voices here today with this performance, and especially if he can hold on and drive car number 3 home to victory. 308 of 334 laps are complete. 334 laps make up 500 miles here in Charlotte, and with the heat today, believe me, 500 very tough, rough miles to drive.
I tell you, you have to give a call to Harry Gant. The 46-year-old driver is literally battling his race car. He does not have a good handling car. The car is very ill handling. It is slipping and sliding. He has not lost that much ground. You see Gant there in the back of the picture as Earnhardt slides by the car number 98 of Ron Bouchard. But Gant's car is just slipping and sliding in the corners. He's been trying to hang on as best he can. They do not have another pit stop scheduled for him to come in and get some relief, get some chassis adjustments made. He will have to try to just hang on and endure these last 25 or 30 laps. There's Harry Gant. As that car goes into the corners, it literally slips and slides up toward the wall, and Gant has to swat that steering wheel back and forth to hang on to it. And he's sliding way up, just trying to keep it out of the concrete and trying to hang on for a good finish.
Good piece of driving by Harry Gant. Should we get a caution flag in these final laps, would these leaders come in? Would they make some adjustments before the end of the race?
I think most definitely they would have to come in. I believe Gant would love to see a yellow flag come out right now. There are only 3 cars in the lead lap, so they would have no reason not to come in and pit. And if the caution were to come out in the next 8 or 10 laps, there would still be some 20 laps left, and they would have time to run down possibly whoever the leader would be.
The last time a driver swept both races at Charlotte, it was 1975. And the man who did it, the king, Richard Petty. Dale Earnhardt's trying to do that here today. Eli Gold is down on pit road. Let's go down to him now.
You know, when you mention the name Jimmy Martin on the Winston Cup Tour, you automatically think of a guy who has been Richard Petty's longtime assistant for years. Today, though, you say Jim Martin, and we're speaking, of course, of the honorable governor of the state of North Carolina, just making your way up and down pit road like a good race fan.
Well, as Grand Marshal, I thought I ought to get out here and look at all the people and cheer them up and keep them fighting. We've lost a lot of cars today.
That's got to be quite an experience being a Grand Marshal for an event such as this.
Well, this is about my 10th race that I've been to, and it's very exciting, a hot day. And just talking with Tim Richmond, he just had to pull out with some valve trouble, but he said he was okay, a little dizzy out there.
Have to notice the sign that says Ohio on your lapel, of course referring to the folks up in that state who helped out when the drought hit here so badly with that hayride.
Well, we're very proud of those farmers that are here as the guests of the Charlotte Motor Speedway, because when we needed their help, when our farmers were out of hay, they helped us. When we said hay, they sent some hay.
Enjoy the rest of the afternoon, Governor.
Sure will.
Jim Martin, Governor of North Carolina.
And there goes Dale Earnhardt putting Neil Bonnett now a lap down. Means there's 2 cars on the lead lap. Jim Martin, no stranger to this area, used to be the congressman from this area before he became the governor of North Carolina, the Grand Marshal here today. 311 laps are complete. 2 cars are on the lead lap now. Dale Earnhardt and Harry Gant. And barring any unforeseen circumstances, those 2 will battle it out for the win.
You know, we were checking some calculations a little bit ago up here, and we just checked that, you know, the car number 3 of Earnhardt has only run 59 or 60 laps or so under green because of the way their pit stops have been sequenced. They have not had to run very far. From their last pit stop on lap 272, to finish the race, he would have to run 62 laps. So that's not but about 94 or so miles. And they should be able to go that distance. They haven't done it yet today, so there may be a question mark maybe in Kirk Shelberdine's mind, maybe Richard Childress's mind. They would get one of our pit reporters to go by and just touch base with them and see if they possibly can make it the rest of the way.
Let's take a look at...
If my car is getting worse, his car is getting worse, maybe we can get a break and lap traffic will hold him up. You know, once your car starts handling poorly, if you get stuck behind a couple lap cars, you can't get around them because you just can't turn the car down to the left or to the right and hope to pass someone, because you do that one quick turn of the steering wheel, you end up doing a helicopter down the track and end up contacting the wall.
Well, it is going to be a tough fight these final 14, 13 laps now for Earnhardt and Harry Gant. Those 2, as the race remains the way it is, they're only 2 realistically with a shot at victory. Earnhardt out in front, Gant still trying to chase him down. Harry probably going to wait till under 10 laps or so to hang that car out, so they say. And even though it's ill handling, if you're a Harry Gant, at some point you've just got to go for broke and see what it'll do. Dale Earnhardt now heads his car into turn 3. He has fought back, as we have said before, from being 2 laps down earlier in this race, and he has come back to take the lead. And now, with just about 12 laps to go, Earnhardt is leading Harry Gant and has a great shot to win his 2nd race in Charlotte here in 1 year.
Well, if he does so, he will increase his margin. And the Earnhardt pits, that's Kirk Shelberdine with his left arm popped up on the handle of the jack, and the Wrangler crew walking around. They know that Earnhardt, barring a major problem on the track, should be able to bring that car home to victory. They realize that Gant's car is ill handling and he will not have an opportunity to run Earnhardt down. So Dale Earnhardt, well, it could be a good day for him here in Charlotte. He can pick up his 4th win of the year and go ahead and put an extra few points between himself and Darrell Waltrip and Tim Richmond.
Well, every race they give a Mechanic of the Race award, and that award has been voted to Kirk Shelberdine of the Richard Childress team, the Dale Earnhardt crew chief. And Kirk Shelberdine, the very deserving winner of anything he gets. He does a great job for Earnhardt's team.
They certainly have had their work cut out for him today, keeping that car dialed in. As there's Harry Gant's car. You see the car just slipping up the rear of the car, and he brings the car down off the banking and gets it gathered back in. It's very difficult to see the car as it slips and slides, but he is trying everything he can, as we are now being shown 10 laps to go here at Charlotte. Just 10 more circuits, and Dale Earnhardt will go victory lane.
Dale Earnhardt with just a 2nd or 2 lead over Harry Gant. If the race finishes like it is, Earnhardt would now lead Waltrip by 159 points and Tim Richmond by 232 points. We're going to put a clock on him this time by and see what the difference actually is between Harry Gant and Dale Earnhardt, as Earnhardt comes out of turn 4 and down the front straightaway will come across the start-finish line. And there comes Harry Gant. 1.67 seconds is the difference between Dale Earnhardt and Harry Gant. And running the way they are right now, 1.67 seconds is a lot of ground for Harry Gant to make up. And with 10 laps to go now, it seems almost insurmountable, but never count Harry Gant out. He is a real battler, and I'm sure Harry Gant behind the wheel of that car has not given up thoughts of victory at all yet.
No, I'm sure he hasn't, but he realizes too that his car is just not the machine he needs to catch Earnhardt. And Dale Earnhardt has to be very careful. He's up there thinking about watching lap traffic, not getting the car out of shape, not making any quick moves to get the car sideways. He's running the car up very high on the racetrack. Both he and Gant are running up near the wall, and there's Earnhardt down the back straightaway just about 8 more times, but he'll be going to victory lane.
Okay, 1.55 seconds the differential that time, so Gant has made up a little ground. Let's go down to the Earnhardt pits now and Steve Martin.
We're down in Dale Earnhardt's pit as we go down the last 10 laps of this race. You know, Charlotte Motor Speedway is not known as a tough racetrack on tires, but the slickness of the track makes most of these teams very scared to put a new set of tires on. In the Dale Earnhardt pit right now, they're hoping against hope that another caution doesn't come out. They're hoping against hope that something doesn't wrong that would force them to use these new tires. They got a pair of tires that they used during a very slow caution stretch they used earlier in the race. Some scuffs that they got on now that have worked very, very well, and they're hoping to hold it to the finish.
327 laps complete. 334. 7 laps to go. 328 now on the board. 6 laps to go for Dale Earnhardt. 6 laps between car number 3 and victory, the Oakwood Homes 500. 1.51 the separation that time by Harry Gant is gaining ground little by little each lap, but will it be enough? Will he run out of time? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think Harry Gant's really gaining the kind of ground that he'd like to overtake Dale Earnhardt. The difference is still over 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have enough time. It's just too little too late for Gant coming now out of Ford. He again slides the car up toward the walls. He's trying to move by the Phil Parsons machine, but you know, you've got to give a call. These guys have really had their hands full. Kirk Shelberdine, well deserving of that Mechanic of the Race award for getting the Wrangler car dialed in for Dale Earnhardt. What a tremendous job they've done. And Travis Carter and the Skoll crew, they have done also a yeoman's effort down there to keep Gant in contention all afternoon. The car, not quite the horsepower, possibly not quite the effort that the car number 3 has, but Gant has driven his heart out trying to pick up that first win of 86, and it looks like he will not get it today.
Harry Gant letting it all hang out. 1.44 the difference that time by. He's slipping and sliding across the front stretch. 1.48. He lost a little ground that time, so the difference stays about the same. 4 laps to go now as we are on lap 330. 4 laps remain for Dale Earnhardt to hang on here. As Earnhardt now on the back straightaway. As you see him, he likes to ride down low in the seat. And somebody commented that maybe with the pressure of the points race getting on him a little bit now, that they've noticed that Earnhardt just seems to sink lower and lower into the cockpit of that race car. But he really likes to climb down in there.
He likes to sit low in the race car and sort of lean back and relax. That way, he tells me he can push harder on the throttle when he's down lower in the seat. But that's sort of a smiling comment. But Earnhardt now really having things his way. He has 3 wins to his credit this year. His last win coming right here in Charlotte back in May. He has not won since that race.
Well, Earnhardt gained ground on that last lap. The difference was 1.54 seconds. So now he is gaining ground on Harry Gant. That's not good news at all for the fans of car number 33, as the Skoll Bandit seems to be dropping back just a little bit as his car has gotten awfully loose, as Jerry Punch has said, and Harry Gant lost even more ground on that last lap. With 2 laps remaining, the difference is now 1.6 seconds left. So Earnhardt is gaining ground, and I imagine these last couple of laps that Earnhardt's going to give that car all it's got to get around here and drive it home to victory.
Well, I'm sure he realizes that he's got a pretty soft advantage, a pretty comfortable advantage over Harry Gant, and barring any unforeseen problems, barring a driver error or driver mistake, he should be able to bring the car home to victory lane. He should be getting the white flag this time from Harold Kinder as he comes across, and Dale Earnhardt should lead the last lap.
Okay, Dale Earnhardt on the last lap. Here he comes, hopefully trying to claim victory here. Dale Earnhardt has the white flag out for the final lap. He's out of turn 2 now and down on the back straightaway. If Earnhardt can hold the lead this time around, he will win the Oakwood Homes 500. He's in turn 3 now with a very comfortable lead over Harry Gant. Earnhardt moves into turn 4. And now the crowd on its feet and waving and cheering for Dale Earnhardt of nearby Kannapolis, and Earnhardt has won the Oakwood Homes 500. The yellow and blue hats of the Earnhardt fans are waving in the air. You see the congratulations in the headbutts, which has become traditional on this Wrangler crew, as they have reestablished their dominance for this season. They have won for the second time this year in Charlotte. The last time a driver won 2 Charlotte races in a year, way back in 1975, that was Richard Petty. The hand wave from Dale Earnhardt. A great race today, coming from 2 laps down to claim victory.
And picks up his 19th Winston Cup win of his career. Dale Earnhardt, you know, they said if the Winston Cup point battle was going to be difficult for Waltrip and Richmond, it's going to be almost impossible now. Barring a major catastrophe these last 3 races, Dale Earnhardt should be the man to beat and should coast to the Winston Cup title for 1986.
Well, Dale Earnhardt bringing his car down on pit road, the arm out the window in victory. Here comes the crew out to congratulate him. They are all excited. And Dale Earnhardt will make his way now to victory lane. Our crews will make their way over there as well. It was a good race today. A lot of excitement. One wreck that took out a number of cars on lap 84. But other than that, a pretty good, clean race with Dale Earnhardt the winner. Here are our unofficial results. Earnhardt in first place. Second place, Harry Gant. Third place, Neil Bonnett, a lap down. Ricky Rudd, fourth, a lap down. A good, consistent run for Ricky today. Buddy Baker, another good run. He is in fifth place. And we'll be back in victory lane after these messages.
We're down in the garage area with a runner-up in the Oakwood Homes 500, Harry Gant. Harry, tough race for you today. Second place, a pretty good finish, and a tough car to handle today, wasn't it?
Yeah, Earnhardt had ran good. He got down a couple laps, and he ran pretty strong all day. You know, our Skoll team done a good job preparing this car today. And, you know, we're thrilled that we got to get out here and get a good run for a change, and we come close, but maybe next time we'll do better. We got beat by a better car today.
How about the handling today? Was it a little bit loose out there? A lot of people said you looked kind of loose in 3 and 4.
Yeah, it was a little loose. Dale's car was a little tighter than mine at the end. It made a lot of difference.
Harry, what about the heat out there today? Although there seemed to be a cloud in the middle part of that race.
Yeah, it didn't seem too hot today, not as hot as I thought it was going to be.
Harry Gant running second in the Oakwood Homes 500 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Dale Earnhardt winning here at Charlotte, North Carolina, coming from a couple of laps back. Heck of a drive today.
Thank you, Eli. You know, I'd like to thank everybody that worked real hard today. Kirk and Richard and all the crew, they just did a super job. This Wrangler Goodwrench Chevrolet ran good all day long. We got down 2 laps at the first, and I got a little discouraged, but Richard and the guys kept talking and kept working, and you know, it all worked out. I kept driving and working hard, and we made it up, and it was really fortunate today. It was, thank the good Lord, nothing happened serious, and you know, we got through this and all right.
And the point lead now is in excess of 150 points.
That's great. You know, we want to pad that thing every race and go to Riverside with it in the pocket.
This racetrack has been awfully kind. Whether you've dominated as you have in the past or whether you had to work for it coming back a couple of laps, you've done awfully well here.
Well, you know, I've had some good years and bad years here, and it's definitely my best year in Charlotte. I won 3 out of 4 races I've ran here, and it's just a great year here.
There were a couple of breaks today. A couple of guys, Tim Richmond, obviously having problems. Bodine was off the pace there at the end, and that, among other things, I'm sure helped out.
Well, it did. Richmond was awful strong, but like I say, we adjusted the car, and I found that high groove in the later stages of the race, and the car really went to work.
Congratulations, Dale. Dale Earnhardt with his 4th win of this 1986 Winston Cup season here in Charlotte, North Carolina.